Welcome to the Pinfall podcast, the podcast where I definitely don't cry because Drew McIntyre lost. I'm your host, Liz. I am joined by my two special co-hosts today. The lovely and effervescent Pepita, who may or may not pee on the bed. And my special guest host, Mark Cameron.
Wow, you have a guest on and they're a co-host? Wow, that's passing the reins off real quick. I mean, it makes sense. Mark just plopped me down in front of this control board and I've no idea, I don't know what I'm doing. I just switched. I'm switching the screens. Oh God. Look. Can you not bring me on every single bad day I have? Last time you had me on, I lost a championship match. And again, same thing. Lost a championship match. Why do you do this to me? It's always the worst days.
Well, I just kind of thought that maybe you'd be able to commiserate tonight. Because, Drew lost his championship. Bayley lost her championship.
Okay.
You lost a championship. It's a night of losers.
Okay. Hold the phone. Okay. I didn't lose the championship. I was forced to. I was threatened. And plus, Bayley, Drew, they're not champions. You lose your title, you're not a champion. If you can't hold on to it, you're not a champ. That's how it works. All right? That's how it works in this world. Only
so does
champ.
That mean you're not a champ?
I'm like Randy. Randy had to try to get the title, and he's a champ now. And I'm on that path as well, all right? So cool yourself, hold your horses, and let's just get on with the podcast, all right? You brought me on to talk about wrestling, not about my shortcomings this weekend. So let's move on. Let's move on.
Peter, do you have anything to add to this? Well put. All right. So, unfortunately, it looks like you may have lost a second time this weekend. We'll get into it when we get into it, but at least you'll have something to drown your sorrows in.
Yeah, whatever punishment you have throwing at me. I guess the rules were what are the rules? You drink a can for every wrong prediction you had by the end of the podcast.
Correct.
So I have to get through.
Yeah.
I have to get to 4 cans. One of these I dropped on the floor, so could explode at any moment.
I mean, good luck. I have to get through 2.
Oh, I already know which one. You can see that this one's all bent out of shape. That's the one I dropped.
Oh, yeah, just like you.
Can we just get on with it?
Shall we begin?
Enough of the insults.
Same vibe.
Crack an open can number 1.
Okay, how did you? Which can's gonna be number 1?
Not the bent out of shape one. I'm gonna wait till that one's not gonna explode.
Probably what I should have said before I brought you on here.
So what's your punishment for me? Or is it one of those we'll get to it later kinds of predictions or punishments?
We'll get to it later. We'll save it for the end. All right. So we started with a couple of promos, I believe, before we got into the first match. Am I right in thinking that, or?
Kind of. Before,
we had to go over them.
We had the kickoff. I didn't write them down at all. The first promo I had written down was the Retribution one.
Okay.
Prior to that, I wasn't. I considered everything part of the kickoff as like kickoff banter stuff. And yes, Blucha, we are on that claw life, and we are happy to be here. No laws when you're drinking claws.
My stomach doesn't abide by that knowledge, but sure. As I always do, I had very spicy food before the podcast, so I'm in a ton of pain. And I'm dousing it with alcohol, which is always good for your stomach. Also, just a little follow-up. There was some discussion that Mark had made a stipulation for one of the matches on our NXT podcast. We spent 3 whole days trying to remember what it was. I finally scanned the entire podcast to figure out what it was. Turns out it was a prediction for a Halloween Havoc. So there were no special stipulations for this.
Yeah.
Actually, you did make one stipulation I think we both agreed on, which was there would be a 24/7 title defense. But.
Right. Which we both got right. Also, there were 2 matches announced last second, and that was R-Truth versus Drew Gulak for the 24/7 title, and Bobby Lashley versus Slapjack, which was announced during the show, which I didn't realize would be for the United States Championship until the match had already started.
Right. And we are actually about to get into the Drew Gulak versus R-Truth 24/7 Championship title defense. So.
That's drink number 1.
Drink number 1. We both thought that Drew Gulak would win. Somehow he didn't. And it's probably his own demise that he made. Truth came out chit-chatting with little Jimmy, as one does. And Drew Gulak decided to take advantage of that, and he called little Jimmy over and did like some cool high fives and some special handshake that they had, and he got him up on his knee and was talking to him, and when he set him back down, he kicked him away, which made R-Truth mad as all hell. R-Truth attacks Gulak, socks him in the face, and then bops his little head into the turnbuckle. He gets up onto the second rope just to punch Gulak downwards. Gulak then begins kicking R-Truth's knee before just doing what he does best, which is really destroying it, getting it wrapped around his own leg and falling on it. And I was like, points. Ligaments. Truth then kicks Gulak in the face twice to break free of the submission hold. There's a headlock on R-Truth, and R-Truth tries to jump over a somersaulting Gulak, but Gulak catches him and rolls him up. It was very weird. It was very cool. There's then a knee sub on Truth and a chin grab to hold him back, but he manages to grab the rope. Gulak starts doing like this weird, like over the back, like chin grab on Truth. And then Truth somehow manages to like use his impressive core strength, roll up and over Gulak's face. Or head, rather, sorry. He tackles Drew Gulak, almost said Drew McIntyre. I knew that was going to happen too, at least once during this podcast. But he tackles Gulak and then pulls off a spine buster onto him, does the 5-knuckle shuffle to Gulak, sets up for the attitude adjustment, but Gulak breaks free and then is immediately dropped. Truth misses the scissor kick, and then Gulak slams him into the corner before kicking at him. Truth then again showing off core strength I did not realize he had. He's like sitting facing the buckle with both legs over the ropes, and he like somehow, I think it was with his legs over the ropes, I don't know, somehow he managed to like flip himself up to the top buckle.
He like rolled himself up, got his legs up to the top rope, and then lifted his core up.
It was very strange. Gulak gets up to the top rope, and Truth punches him in the midsection to get free. Gulak is then... he was on R-Truth's shoulders. Gulak got rolled up, and Truth managed to retain the title. The moment Truth retained the title, Lucha House Party came out to attack him. Tozawa pulled them away. Wanted to go after Truth. Lucha House Party pulls him away, and then they're all running after Truth, who stops by the commentator's booth with Charlie and Booker and all those people. Says hi and then runs off. And Gulak comes up to the same booth and screams, "Hey, Truth, John Cena sucks." And I said, this isn't how I wanted John Cena to come back.
Because R-Truth was
Um,
dressed like John Cena. He did the 5-knuckle shuffle too. Um, but if we're talking pure moves and pure style today, Drew Gulak was the best today. He looked amazing.
Honestly, they both looked amazing, and I was shocked because I was like, oh, 24/7 championship. This is gonna be a quick match. This was actually worth the price of admission, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot
But
of people have been getting on. Oh, sorry.
no. You continue.
I was just gonna say a lot of people have been getting on Truth's back because like it's like the 24/7 championship is our Truth championship, and like you basically know it's always going to end up back in his hands at some point. Um, and a lot of people were saying like, oh, I want him to like be doing like different things and things that like actually prove that he's a good wrestler and like worth the time. But I think this did the trick pretty well.
Yeah, that's why I like that R-Truth guy. He is the epitome of a champ. He holds on to the title as shown today. And when he loses the title, he just gets it right back. Whether it's the same day, or the next 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 day, he always gets it back.
You really should use him as like inspiration going into your next match then.
Yeah, I really should. I have a lot to learn from him.
You do. You have a lot to learn from him.
I feel like you're patronizing me, and I don't appreciate it.
No, Mr. Champ. No. There's a promo right after this if you want to talk about that.
Hey, you know that Drew McIntyre guy?
Hey, hey, hey now. Get onto your promo, mister. Before we talk about your next defeat.
All right. So we had Retribution backstage talking about how pissed they are and how it's them challenging Hurt Business to a match today. And it's very impromptu. This happens like before the actual event, kind of during the kickoff. And we won't learn more about the challenge until later, but yeah, they're basically making a challenge, and we're waiting on Hurt Business to accept. And yeah, then we move on to Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns.
I really thought, by the way, that when we saw that there was a predicted Bobby Lashley versus Slapjack match, I was like, that's fucking stupid. Why the fuck would they do that? That's a dumb prediction. They're not doing that. Clearly somebody had access to the writer's room because it's the most bullshit prediction in the entire world. There were several other predictions that made significantly more sense. And somehow we still ended up here. And I was like,
Oh God.
all right. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, aka the first match that made me cry. Mark, you earned, or sorry, Mr. Cameron, you earned your second hard seltzer. Are you already on your second one?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna get a little nervous there. It's like you're drinking like me. I of course chose Roman because I'm not absolutely out of my goddamn gourd.
All right. To be fair, this match looked like it could have gone either way.
Oh yeah, no. Halfway through, I was like, I might regret everything I did. That's fair. Oh god, this was the fact that this wasn't the main event. Also, I know why, but also I don't.
They should have swapped this and Drew and Randy. It would have made the most sense.
I think it's just because it was the WWE Championship, and that's like the biggest title.
I mean,
I think that's why.
I mean, still, this is the first time that Drew is main eventing a pay-per-view.
I don't claim to know anything. I kind of got it, though. I mean, I told you. I was like, if Drew and Randy are main eventing, I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Anyways. So we start off with the two men just kind of yelling at each other. No one really does anything. They're just yelling. It's fine. Probably the most tame moment of the entire fucking match. Jay immediately gets tossed into the ropes, and then is shoulder tackled as he bounces off. There's a right hook to his little face. Roman throws him into the canvas and then bumps his head into the buckle, clotheslines him. Jay's already looking like a dead man. Which was around the time that I said, oh, I may have made a huge mistake. Because usually when like people get off to such a good start, that's when they lose. There's a knee to the jaw of Roman and then a kick to the midsection before Jay slaps him in the face. And then he dives out onto Roman, shoving him into the cell. Sends Roman over the top rope once more, dives out onto him again. Jay just starts beating the living shit out of Roman. To which Roman responds with a spear, as Roman does. Roman kicks Jay and tells him that he's going to wish he never came here. Roman then goes to the apron to get something. But Jay kicks him... Jay kicks him through the ropes and then runs back, tries it again, immediately runs into Roman's fucking Thanos glove, or whatever the fuck it was today.
What was that?
I don't know what that was about. I
don't
know.
It was like gold, but also looked like a brace.
Just like a jazzy brace. Roman then spears Jay again. He tries a second spear, but gets a knee to the chin, and then a super kick straight to the fucking jaw, taking Roman down. There's an Uso splash onto Roman, but Roman refuses to quit. A second Uso splash, and the referee, who won't shut the fuck up, is like, Roman, do you quit yet? Are you done? Or do you quit? Are you good? And Roman says, the head of the table never quits. I said, okay. I don't know how often the head of the table's in this position, but like, sure. And then the leather strap makes its first appearance. So Jay slaps Roman with the strap several times. He's finally speared, and then Roman has the leather strap, and it becomes a strap match at that point. There's a super kick to Roman, and then he attempts a Superman punch, but Jay does the world a lot of good by using the strap to stop him, to pull him down, basically. Jay then has the strap around Roman's throat, and Roman basically passes out. And the ref's like, this isn't over until you say I quit, so like you need to wake the fuck up. And Roman wakes up. Still being choked out, though. Finally, Jay just gets off of him. There's a chair in play now. He goes for the chair shot, but Roman Superman punches him and then puts him into a guillotine. Then situates Jay so that his head is hanging off the apron. And this is about where I started getting really upset and very unhappy with everything that was happening. Jay's head is hanging off the apron. Roman does a drive-by. Somehow Jay is alive in the sense that his like nervous system hasn't shut down. Then Roman decides, hey, what if I took the steel steps, put them next to my cousin's head, and then do another drive-by? Jay's still not dead. Then the ref is like, hey, Roman, you've killed him, so can we just call it a day? Can we call that good? And Roman's like, no, we can't. He has to say, I quit, or else. Roman then decides, this referee is annoying me. He throws the ref from the ring, which then prompts Adam and Pat, every other person from the head office, every other referee, to come running down the ramp and come into the cage, which apparently was never locked. They try to stop Roman, and Roman decides that he will not be stopped. He goes and he shuts the door, while muttering to himself, ain't nobody gonna leave now. It's like, Roman, It might be an I Quit match, but it's not a Get Roman Fired match. My God, man.
We're stuck in the lion's den now.
Real bad. Roman then gets the steel steps onto Jay's neck. And I really thought, like, I wrote Rose about to lose because I thought Jay's gonna have like a crazy come from behind, like something's gonna happen. Roman says, night night, picks up the fucking steel steps like he's about to squash Jay's noggin. Jimmy comes out. And Jimmy puts himself between the steps and his brother and breaks me on the inside bones. The inside bones were real sad. Because we sort of broke like a little bit of kayfabe here. At one point, Jimmy's screaming like, this is Josh here. And I was like, don't do that. We don't use real names here.
I mean, they've already said there's no script for this. They just let them do whatever. It
was like,
that was just Jimmy just going all out right there.
and at this point, my heart's breaking. A lot of people's hearts are breaking. Roman's sobbing in the middle of the fucking ring, and I'm like, if there's one thing I cannot stand, and by stand I mean handle, it is grown-ass men crying. If I see a grown-ass man crying, I'm like, shit's bad. Shit's gotta be bad. I've seen my father cry maybe twice in my life, and that was when shit was bad, and I was like, oh no. This triggers my most sensitive part. So, Roman's like, you know what, buddy, you're right. Kind of comes in for like that like little brotherly like shoulder touch.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, you know, I'll take the loss on this one. I'm fine. And then Roman gets Jimmy. Roman gets Jimmy into a guillotine, and Jay suddenly wakes up and quits. And Jimmy and Jay are sobbing in the ring, and Roman's uncle and his father are there to assign Roman as chief. And I just... also, Roman, stone cold. The tears just went...
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God.
Because
psychopath.
The tears weren't for him. The tears were for Jimmy.
Fair. Dude, that shit broke me.
So that gives me the feeling we'll be seeing The Rock much sooner than WrestleMania. Very, very nice of you. Very cool.
Just like splash back and like hit right at my septum.
But you know,
yeah, that destroyed me on the inside.
This would have been all Jay's if he just hadn't stopped choking Roman. If he just kept on it, he would have won.
True. I mean, Roman was basically passed out. But to be fair, I mean, it is a good point. Like, if it's an I Quit match and the guy passes out, like, technically he didn't say I quit, so technically he didn't lose.
But they were going to ring the bell when Jay was passed out.
Right, but, like, that's not how it should work. You should have to sit there. And wait. He wakes back up. Then you go right back to choking him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so you want to get us to our next match?
God. Honestly, it's like we went from like the most tragic shit I've ever fucking seen, like the most emotionally jarring shit I've ever fucking seen, right into Elias versus Jeff Hardy, and I was like, hey, yes, most tragic shit into like the most tragic shit. Yeah. So Elias versus Jeff Hardy. Lucky for us, we both chose Elias.
This match was it was lame. It wasn't a pay-per-view match.
It was goofy.
Especially with how it ended.
Especially with, like, I understand, like, Elias and Jeff obviously have beef from, you know, Elias thinking Jeff hit him with his car. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, Elias came back so fast, was immediately put into, like, this, like, ridiculous fucking like feud, and suddenly it's a pay-per-view.
Yeah, like if you're gonna make it a pay-per-view, at least make a big reveal from it.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it. We start off just Jeff getting punched in the face. Then there's an atomic drop and a takedown into a neck snap onto Elias. Jeff begins attacking the elbow of Elias before he is sent free of the ring. Elias throws him into the barricade. Jeff throws Elias into the barricade. Elias then rolls from the ring, but Jeff follows him, kicking him in the face. Jeff runs at Elias outside of the ring, but lands face first on the edge of the barricade. Elias starts punching Jeff in the corner before stomping him. There's like a weird little skip to my Lou, right into a shoulder tackle onto Jeff. It's very whimsical. He gets a headlock on Jeff, and then Jeff gets up, does an enziguri onto Elias. Then there's an inverted atomic drop, and a double leg drop, and a drop kick to Elias. Then Elias did something that I kind of respected. He fucked up a power bomb, but he auto-corrected really quickly so that it didn't like look horrible. You could just tell that Elias lost track of Jeff's one leg, but sent his own body down quicker than I think he was expecting to, just to kind of take that blow, which I respect, because as much as I hate Elias, I will respect a man that doesn't want to put Jeff Hardy into another fucking back brace. Then there's a whisper in the wind to Elias and a twist of fate. Jeff Hardy takes off his shirt, gets up on the top rope for that sweet swan dive. Elias rolls out of the ring, and Jeff still looks like he's thinking about it. And I was like, Jeff, no, don't. But Elias gets up, goes over to the timekeeper's area. Jeff follows him. Elias has his guitar, and he is ready to use it, but Jeff takes it, completely forgets the rules of the match, smashes it over Elias's back, earning himself a quick DQ. And just as Samoa Joe saying, it's all legal, I was like, no, Joe, actually it's not.
Can I just say, Elias called Jeff Hardy a junkie today.
We thought we could escape it. We thought we could.
Almost. Junkie.
Junkie.
And we both got this prediction right, so neither of us have a can for it.
Correct.
And by the way, this is my Jey Uso can.
Okay. Rest in peace, Jay.
No, rest in peace, Jimmy.
Rest in peace to both of them, honestly.
I have 2 cans for that.
I mean, so do you think on Smackdown this Friday we're gonna have Jay deciding whether he's going to call Roman the tribal chief or not?
No.
Well, because like that was half the battle. Because like if he says I quit, that's one thing, but he has to accept Roman as the tribal chief.
It feels like they changed it halfway through because during today they didn't mention that part of it at all. They made it seem like he lost, he was out of the family.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be him and Naomi. Or him and Jimmy and Naomi.
Honestly, if I were Jimmy, or rather, if I were Naomi, I'd be like, hey, Jay, I don't really know what the fuck's going on in your life right now, but like, Jimmy, we're both out of work right now. Because we're both injured. What the fuck? I'd be mad as hell.
I mean, Jay's still working. He's still wrestling. He's just out of the family. Meaning he doesn't have to provide for anybody else except Naomi.
Well,
and his kids.
Jimmy has to provide for Naomi.
Oh, Jimmy's married to... Okay. So, yeah. Jay doesn't have to provide for anyone except his wife.
Jay can if he wants. Right. His wife, who is not a wrestler, and therefore we do not know her name.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On to the next loss of Mark Cameron.
No. We have an interview first. We have an interview with Otis and Tucky. Which is them... I don't even remember what was talked about in this interview. I think it was just them kind of recapping the Law and Otis a bit, and talking about how mad they are and everything. I think mainly Tucky being mad and Otis just being there. And then we have the match, the second heartbreak of the day.
Hell in a cell, more like hell in my soul.
And this one, I dedicate to Otis. It's not opened yet. That'll be dedicated to Otis.
Yes. So
Pain.
Otis tosses. Fair. Otis tosses the Miz and then spears him in the corner. There's a jawbreaker to Otis, and Otis goes to lift the Miz, but the Miz jumps over him. Miz does what every little wrestler loves to try to do to the bigger wrestler, which is the sunset flip. Otis is like, okay. And just kind of stands on the Miz for a while. The Miz then slaps Otis's tum and sends him from the ring. The Miz goes to kick Otis through the ropes, but Otis dodges him, and once the Miz is outside of the ropes, he's clotheslined. Morrison distracts, also clean-shaven Morrison, kind of my personal hell, in a cell. Morrison distracts the ref, and Otis is then kicked in the knee, and then there's a DDT to Otis. Otis is against the ropes, and Morrison punches Otis in the face. The Miz then kicks him in the stomach, clotheslines him in the corner, goes off the top rope onto Otis, and then gets a sleeper hold on him. Otis begins powering up and out. He takes the Miz down, but the Miz just kicks Otis in the face. There's a kick to Otis. It's just doing that thing where it riles him up. Otis jabs the Miz, and then shoulder tackles him and then clotheslines him. And he does a facebuster onto the Miz, clotheslines him in the corner, starts his little caterpillar, and Johnny Drip Drip, the best friend of all time,
who looks
pulls the Miz
awful
free.
because he shaved his goddamn beard off. He looks like
Clean-shaven Johnny Drip Drip is not good.
He looks like a 50-year-old stereotypical wrestler.
It's such a weird choice too. Now he just like looks like a man.
He looks like a taller Jerry Lawler. You can fight me on that.
Horrible. Anyways, so Morrison pulls the Miz free from the ring to avoid the caterpillar. Miz is then thrown into the barricade by Otis, and Otis just starts to like kind of walk towards Johnny, like kind of intimidating him. And then there's a kick to the face of Otis and an elbow to Miz's head. Johnny goes to hit Tucky with the briefcase, but Jessica Carr catches him and says, "Hey, get the fuck out of here." Tucky chases him out, and I said, "That's a good friend." Otis then rolls up the distracted Miz. Does a discus clothesline to the Miz. And then Tucky grabs the briefcase and clubs Otis in the face with it. Miz wins. Once again, I didn't want to win like this.
I completely blame you for what happened, but also, I can't even be too mad because the Miz is the one who deserves it at the end of the day. Otis is a loser. Otis, he can't hold on to shit. If you can't trust your own friends, if you don't pick the people who won't stab you in the back, what are you? You're, right? If you are not good at picking your partners and picking your friends, what good are you at picking, or what good are you at maintaining a championship?
Is that why?
Splucha said, "Johnny, hello fellow kids, drip drip Nitro Mundo, Impact Morrison."
No! Oh
Oh
Oh no.
god. But yeah,
To be fair,
what?
okay.
I
No,
was
go
gonna
on.
say, I should have picked the Miz because wholeheartedly, he's the one who is the rightful winner and should have won in the first place. I mean, somebody with that amount of money that could bribe JBL and have him side with him should have gotten it in the first place.
So what's your excuse for not having a championship then?
The fact that I was threatened to throw my championship match, otherwise I
Oh,
would
but
be
what about the
kicked
first
out of the
time?
league. The first time it was because my opponent delayed the match 3 times so that she could pull some dumb shit, and I don't know, come out on top. Look, if you watched
Wouldn't
the
you think
match,
that
if you watched the match yesterday, you would have seen that I would have won. I was destroying, but I had to throw it.
you think that like a champion wouldn't be in a position where they have to throw the match?
No, the exact opposite. A champion has everyone out to get them. I mean, for example, look at Drew McIntyre. Remember when everyone was like trying, like there was that little tournament thing with like Dolph, Keith Lee, Randy, Seth, Dominic, and some other person, um, for contention for the title. Everyone's out to get him. Everyone is out to get the champion because they're jealous.
Right, but Drew won that time.
Yeah. But I'm Randy in this case. Drew is not a real champion because he couldn't hold on to it. He lost it today.
Randy's been a champion 14 times, which means he couldn't hold on to the championship 13 times.
And he has it again.
Drew lost it only
It
once.
always comes back to Randy. Drew's only been champion once.
You haven't been champion a single time.
Again, I don't know how many times I have to explain this to you to get it through your head, but I am on my way. Okay?
You want to be on your way to talking about this next promo?
All right. So the Miz and Morrison are interviewed backstage by Kayla, and they're ecstatic. They're happy. And Kayla asks them about how if they feel bad for destroying this friendship that's been existing for so long, and the Miz is just like, hey, you know what? You got to do what you got to do, all right? It's Otis's fault that you couldn't maintain Tucky as a friend, and I completely agree. But then Tucky comes out, and John and Miz are like, hey, great job. And Tucky's like, no, I didn't do this for you. And he says that he's always been the one kind of carrying the team. Because Otis is always the one who comes out last second, does a caterpillar, wins. But Tucky's the one who has been carrying the weight, doing the damage, getting all the heavy lifting done, the heavy machinery done. And Otis just is a little flashy. And I've seen this point before. I've seen this like argued before that the reason Tucky and Otis are such a great team is because Tucky's the one who is in the ring first, and just like he said, gets the job done, does all the heavy lifting, does all of like the damage done, and then Otis comes in and is the comic relief. He's flashy, he's the standout character, and he can land the pin. And little did that person that said that comment know, but that would be exactly why they break up.
Do you think that like maybe that person was just Tucky in disguise?
Or Vince.
Also, interesting thing to note: we normally get our next Jesus Christ. Our
Oh,
next pay-per-view.
yeah.
We usually get our next pay-per-view ad. Around this time, but we didn't. I kind of expect to see a Survivor Series one.
Maybe they're waiting until a well, and I mean that kind of makes sense. There's not really, because like this kind of was a checkpoint in many storylines. They haven't really set up big challenges that could be done. Randy got the title. Sasha got the title. Roman crushed Jay. The big 3 titles are, I guess, the big 4 even, because Asuka has nobody to challenge her right now. They're kind of at checkpoints. They'll probably use Raw and SmackDown to set up the next pay-per-view storylines, and then maybe we'll see the ad at Raw or even Halloween Havoc.
Well, to be fair, yeah, that's a good point. I was just gonna say, to be fair, Survivor Series isn't really about inner brand storylines.
Right.
So I wonder if it's just harder for them to set up a promo for that.
Yeah. And maybe stuff will be set up on Raw tomorrow, and then we'll see an ad.
Yeah. Also, I just want to point out the cat right now. She is comfortably nestled like this, more or less, in the sheets.
Oh, I mean, it also makes sense because they need to set up who the teams are going to be.
Wasn't it just everybody?
Hmm?
Isn't it just technically everybody?
Well, no, it's I think it's 5v5 or 4v5 or 4v4.
Well, that's for like the major thing.
Yeah. And I think that's what they need to set up, because I know in the past they've like done a big thing for like who's the team captain for the brand.
I don't imagine if it's Randy.
It's probably going to be Shane. Shane's been the team captain before for Raw or SmackDown.
I wonder if he's been for SmackDown. I wonder if it's going to be Mick. I wonder if that's why he had that meeting.
Maybe.
Because that would make sense. He was associated with Raw more often than he was been associated with SmackDown.
Yeah, maybe they'll have him as the captain for Raw, and then maybe Seth Rollins will try and make a big point as him being the captain for SmackDown, because he's been like trying to pledge himself as the leader of the locker room.
Sure. All right. Shall we jump in to the next?
I also just want to say, for Survivor Series, I think it'll be really cool if we get like on SmackDown we get Big E, Roman, maybe Cesaro, and I can't think of another name right now. Maybe they'll probably throw in Lars or something, and maybe have like Xavier or Kofi on Raw. That would be horrible.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And painful.
Oh yeah.
All right.
The next match.
Yes, Bayley versus Sasha. We both got this right. So cheers to that.
Hurt Business versus Slapnuts and Friends. Oh yeah, they'll probably stick somebody from Retribution onto Team Raw. That'd be cool.
That whole thing is a paradox to me.
It is very weird, and I will probably bring this up later, but it's very weird when Retribution has like their own walkout and everything, like their own song.
It's like, okay, you guys clearly don't hate Retribution as much as you say you do.
You're not anarchists.
Yeah. All right, so Bayley and Sasha. Bayley immediately she comes out with her own chair. It's specially decorated this time with an X on the front and a 1-0 on the other side that definitely looks a little... doesn't translate well.
I thought it was a penis.
Yeah. I didn't because I heard that I saw it when they were talking about it. And I was like, oh. And then you said that. I was like, ah. But Bayley immediately tries to smack Sasha with the chair. Sasha kicks it out of her hands and then free from the cell before the cell lowers. It somehow magically ends up propped right up against the outside of the door. Sasha just hauls off, punching Bayley a lot. And then there's a head scissors right into the bank statement on Bayley. And Bayley bites Sasha, which is perfectly legal. I don't think it should be, but it is.
I mean, in a Hell in a Cell match, definitely.
Yeah. Still. Sasha attempts to drop kick Bayley through the ropes, but Bayley ducks down. Bayley then slams Sasha into the cell and grabs a kendo stick. Sasha launches the kendo through the cell, almost hitting Michael Cole. Bayley sends an elbow into the throat of Sasha, and then Sasha kicks Bayley in, as Corey Graves put it, the kidney.
Definitely not the kidney.
Sasha starts setting up table, which always sounds like it's a bad idea because you're like, oh, you're going to be the one going through it. No.
But, in fact, nobody went through it.
Yeah. And both took equal hits onto the table, I believe.
Yeah.
Sasha then spears Bayley with the table into the cage several times. There's a meteora to Bayley against the cell.
Sorry.
I somehow heard that through the walls.
Maybe I should mute my mic when I do that.
It wasn't loud in my headphones. That's why it was weird. I thought like I could hear it outside, like your door was open.
Oh, maybe it was because it was behind my mic. Why it didn't come through.
Oh. However, Sasha goes up to the top rope and pulls off another meteora. Sasha then has a chair and swings at Bayley, who immediately rolls her up. Sasha's then thrown from the ring. Her jaw lands on the apron, and then her ankle lands on the table. Oh, God, Lord. This is when it started getting like a little bit like, oh, she must have like a hole in her chin now.
Sorry, you're talking about when she like landed basically like, face first into the stairs, right?
No, I'm talking about when she landed onto the apron and then the table.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sasha's then kind of laying on the table like the Little Mermaid lays on that rock in the beginning of the movie. Where she's just like, except her head was more down. Bayley goes for a chair shot, but Sasha rolls free and then kicks the table into Bayley's face. Sasha meteoras Bayley into the cell side again. Bayley gets her steel chair out. Bayley throws Sasha at the cage, and Sasha clings to it, like a little cat. Sasha then tries to throw Bayley into... Oh, sorry. I jumped. She then dives away back onto the apron when Bayley comes after her. Head scissors Bayley into the cage. Sasha then hits Bayley into the stairs. That was probably the first one where we were like, because Bayley went like down hard on it. And she was just laying there for a second. I was like, she might be knocked out. Sasha then decided to get like a little crafty with it. She put kendo sticks in the holes of the stairs, like the hand holes. Put kendo sticks there and then through the side of the cell to make kind of like a little barrier.
Sasha's always very creative in Hell of the Cell matches because, like, when she was up against Becky Lynch, she did like the kendo stick in the corner, chair on top of it thing.
Yeah, which I think she then got thrown into.
Oh yeah, no, she always sets stuff up and then gets.
Sasha tries to throw Bayley into the sticks, but Bayley reverses and tries to do the same thing. Fails. She then trips Sasha into the sticks, breaking one of them. And her face goes right into the steel steps. And from the angle that we had, it looked like it went right into the corner of the steps. And I was like...
It was from this point on where literally everything got nasty. Like,
It was brutal.
It felt like every single move that was done was like, I don't want to say dirty because it's not like in a cheating sense, but like everything felt like it was incredibly painful, and like we were one step away from getting these girls killed.
It was a brutal fucking fight. It was no Dana Brooks fight. That is for goddamn sure.
Absolutely. And I think this could go down as like one of the best women's matches of all time. I think it was like Renee or something that said, or maybe Sean Ross Sapp, somebody on Twitter said that this match will inspire a lot more women to be wrestlers.
It made me want to be a fucking wrestler. But also Corey Graves' voice says that to me every day, so I'm easy. Sasha then... Okay, so Sasha, after falling face first into the steps, her like hair was covering her face, and I was waiting for like the gruesome reveal of just like a gash or something.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna see it.
I looked at every little wrinkle and everything on her face, and I was like, oh, is that a cut? Is that like blood? I was just looking for every little thing that could just be like, oh my god, is she okay?
I was shocked. I was shocked that we did not see any blood. Honestly, I don't
Yeah.
think we saw any blood from either woman.
Yeah, it's shocking, especially considering how many times Sasha was either hit by a kendo stick or went through kendo sticks. And
her outfit is pretty
white.
revealing.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
Well, that too. I'm just saying that like if she were to get cut, it would not be hidden.
Especially when Sasha slammed her head against the table, or not the table, the chair. When Bayley set it up in the corner, that should have resulted in something bad.
That was, oh god, this was like a brutal fucking match.
Oh yeah.
So then Bayley catapults Sasha into the kendo stick set up on the stairs. There's a neck breaker to Bayley and a sunset flip to Bayley into the cell. Sasha's still somehow moving at this point. Bayley then takes Sasha's legs out from under her and sends her face first into the chair. This is not, I believe, the chair shot you were thinking of, though. This was when she went face down into like a setup chair.
I'm talking about when Bayley's
it was
like
in the corner.
props it in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah. Bayley then tries to throw Sasha into a chair set up in the corner, but Sasha slides free. She gets back in. She tries to send Bayley into the chair, but Bayley avoids it. Sasha also avoids going into the chair with her own momentum. And then Bayley flips Sasha head first into the chair, smacking her entire fucking face into the metal. And I was like,
No, it wasn't her face. It was the back of her head.
oh, yeah, sorry. I thought it was her face.
I
that
could
was
just
almost the first time.
I could imagine that happening and just like getting knocked unconscious from that. That must have hurt so bad. And then they replayed it like 4 times.
Yep. Bad.
God.
Bad. So then Bayley gets up to the top rope. She elbow drops onto Sasha, who somehow still fucking kicks out. Then Sasha pulls off a backstabber into the bank statement. Bayley drags Sasha through the apron and slams her face first into the frame of the ring. Bayley gets a kendo stick and starts hitting the entangled Sasha. Bayley duct tapes 2 kendo sticks together at this point. She's not happy with her handiwork by any means, and it was really a waste of time. I don't know why we did it.
I thought she was gonna like duct tape 2 together and just get like a really thick kendo stick. But no,
yeah.
she tries to just like do the same thing Sasha did, but just longer. I appreciate the effort, but she was definitely too sweaty to do it. That's why she asked the ref to unroll the duct tape for her.
Yep. And the ref's like, I can't do that for you. Bayley, after giving up on this plan, returns to the ring. Sasha now has a fire extinguisher, and fire extinguishes Bayley. Sasha gets back in the ring. She's fucking out of her goddamn mind with anger. She throws Bayley into the cage several times before a meteor into the corner. Sasha grabs a kendo stick, and is just like smacking Bayley around. She goes up to the top rope for a splash, but Bayley brings her chair up like a shield when Sasha lands, which hurts both of them at the end of the day. Bayley then sets up 2 chairs and a ladder across them. Sasha gets dropped face first into the ladder and then is placed so that she's laying on the ladder. Bayley spray paints her. And like says like, "You're dead to me, like you're nothing, blah blah blah." Bayley goes up to the top rope and Sasha rolls free of the ladder, causing Bayley to go down into it directly. There's then a meteor to Bayley and then a Bayley to belly to Bayley onto the ladder. Then there's an actual Bayley to belly to Sasha. Bayley's looking a little unhinged. There's some chair shots, and Sasha manages to pull off a bank statement with Bayley's head through a chair while she's stomping the seat. And Bayley taps. And we have a new SmackDown Women's title holder.
Can I just say,
Vibes?
First off, I love this match. One big reason I love this match was because of how metaphorical it was. I don't know if that's the right word, right way to say that. Metaphoric. But the fact that Sasha had set up so many things, she set up the table, she set up the kendo sticks on the wall, everything she set up was used by Bayley against her. And that's kind of symbolic of their relationship and how Sasha had accomplished so much and was kind of the weightlifter in the relationship, and Bayley just took all the credit for it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Plus, like the idea that like Bayley tried to do the exact same thing Sasha did, but it just wasn't right.
And
like,
then
it didn't work.
And then Sasha did the same thing Bayley does with the Bayley to belly, and that's one of the things that just ended that match.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's an exciting turn. I kind of expected this to happen, obviously. My only problem, though, is that I really do not want to see 14 more Bayley Sasha matches.
You know, I actually, and this is weird, I have confidence that we won't see that. I have confidence that they will actually, because so far they have handled this storyline very carefully. It's like this and the Roman J feud that have been handled so carefully that I don't think we'll see this 50 more times. I think what we will get is Charlotte Flair's return and some kind of feud with Sasha. I think with Sonya for the SmackDown Women's title. Sasha's going to lose it at her first pay-per-view defense because that's consistently what she does. She always loses it at her first pay-per-view defense. I know, Splucha, this is WWE we're talking about, but recently they have been handling everything really well. They're not everything. There have been select storylines that they have been handling well. I think Roman and Jay has been great. Sasha and Bayley has been fantastic. And shockingly enough, Hurt Business has been fantastic. Those three are their 3 main storylines that they have handled almost perfectly. And I think with Sasha and Bayley, they'll kind of know when to stop it. And we'll probably get something on SmackDown this coming Friday. And then hopefully that'll be it.
I'm hoping you're right. I am. I just
I know it's hard to trust, but think about it. The reason we had this stigma with WWE is because they have taken so long and teased so much with the Bayley and Sasha relationship and breaking them up. But think about during that entire time, they were just building up how great their tag team is, how great of a friendship they have had, and every step they've been kind of teasing it or giving Sasha more of a reason to leave. And here we are, where everything has been building to this point, and it's been great so far.
I feel like it was simpler times though when they were friends.
Oh, absolutely, because that was. I think that has to do more with the times we're living in and before the election.
Ah,
But after that, we had a promo with the Hurt Business. Um, and I really like this promo actually. It was a Hurt
Bobby
Business.
looked like he wanted to kill himself.
Who, Bobby?
Yeah.
I think Bobby was just like tired. Bobby was just like, I can't believe I have to fight these stupid anarchists. Which, if you weren't here for the Raw podcast, the Retribution logo highly resembles the Black Lives Matter flag. Like, too much. But basically, I think it was Kayla comes up to interview Her Business, and they're like, "So who are you guys gonna send to challenge or to fight the Hurt Business or not Hurt Business Retribution?" And MVP's like, "Well," Kayla says, "Obviously looks like Bobby Lashley is ready to do it. He's not in a suit. He's in his gear." And MVP says, "Well, Bobby is the CEO of the Hurt Business, and he doesn't send people in to fight. He leads us into battle. And so it's not who we're going to send to fight Retribution. It's who our Retribution going to send to fight Bobby Lashley." And then they're kind of deciding on who they would want to fight, and then Shelton says, "How about Slapjack?" Oh no, he says, "How about the one in the stupid mask?" Which could be any of them. But obviously he means Slapjack, and we can't believe this match was predicted correctly by some dude online. And so next we have our match, Bobby Lashley versus Slapjack, which drink number 4, baby, a whole bent up,
Woo!
busted drink in dedication of Slapjack.
You went down with that ship, didn't you?
Look, okay. To be very fair, I did not know. None of us knew that this was a title match. If we had known prior this was a title match, I would have 100% gone with Bobby Lashley. Because had this not been a title match, Slapjack 100% would have won, because it would have extended this storyline further, and Slapjack would have won, Her Business would have been pissed, and would have wanted to go after Retribution further. Now that we're at this point where there was a title match, where does Retribution go from here? They lost the title match. I can maybe see like T-Bar now going after the title, I guess. It's weird that Retribution is going after titles. That's the weirdest part to me, that Retribution is now going after titles.
This felt very much like they were like just trying to fill time.
Yeah, they were like, we need an undercard for today. We need something to just build the time. Meanwhile,
It was very weird.
yeah, they didn't need this. Yeah, split it, exactly. Just have Mustafa get the title. That's fine because he has been a wrestler over the course of time at WWE. I don't know, because it's so up in the air right now if these wrestlers, if Slapjack, T-Bar, Reckoning, and or Retaliation, I don't know which one is which, or Mace are their NXT counterparts. As far as we know, Mustafa is the only one who has been in the WWE for an extended period of time. It would make sense for him to want to go for the title, maybe use dirty tricks to get that title, because their whole thing is they're anarchists, fuck the rules. They should definitely be using dirty tricks to get the title.
Yeah, I mean, this and the Elias and Jeff match, like, we don't need to do this. There isn't enough background context right now for this to even be something that we would consider doing.
I would have 100% wanted Dominic versus Seth versus Murphy, then maybe like Jeff versus Elias.
Like, they could have done Alistair versus Kevin Owens even, and I still would have been like, fine.
Yeah, none of these were pay-per-view matches.
I genuinely thought that we were setting up for Dominic versus Seth versus Murphy, at least, for Hell in a Cell.
Right, because I think that was even referenced during Raw. Seth even mentioned something about Hell or Hell in a Cell, something like that.
Yeah, because he said, like, basically if Murphy didn't, like, come to apologize to him, that he'd see him in Hell.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I get it. Hell in a Cell. Duh.
To be honest,
said, here's Elias versus Jeff, and I said...
To be honest, I think that line from Seth was them kind of being, we're not sure if we're going to have you in the pay-per-view, but just throw in that line just in case.
I would have just preferred that over Elias and Jeff and the Retribution versus Hurt Business, because that would have been a long enough match to have filled both of these time slots that were both very short.
Right.
And it would not have detracted from the quality of the pay-per-view.
I would have loved to see that over Jeff and Elias, although Bobby and Slapjack, I actually really enjoyed that match because Bobby looked dominant as hell, like he always should be, but Slapjack really showed himself. He looked great. Like this
looked decent.
This was not a bad match at all.
No. Yeah. So immediately there's a clothesline to Slapjack's midsection before he's pulverized in the corner. Slapjack gets thrown and does what Slapjack does best, which is he just kind of pinballs around the ring sometimes.
He's like Ricochet.
If he gets thrown, he just bounces.
Like Ricochet.
Yeah.
He sells everything super, like, extraordinarily.
I feel like it's just because, like, he gets thrown and, like, I feel like maybe he just, like, has the ability to, like, not stop himself.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, all right.
He's like, gotta balance, gotta push. Push off the mat. Pogo stick.
He's then... he's just made of rubber. He's then suplexed by Lashley. Crackerjack is unlifted. He frees himself, and Lashley gets sent face first into the turnbuckle before being subjected to a dropkick. Then there is a cannonball onto Lashley. Jack kicks Lashley in the face, and then there's a massive fucking DDT to the dude.
That DDT looked... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to say that DDT looked fantastic.
Oh, yeah. It was wild. I didn't even know what happened for a second.
It blew my mind that, like, Shane Thorne, prior to being on Retribution, was just, like, kind of low tier, just above enhancement talent. Like, yeah. I think him and Brendan... Nese. Yeah, kind of like Tony Nese, but him and Brendan Vink were, like, in the early stages of Hurt Business with MVP. Because I know they had a match with R-Truth and Ricochet and I think Apollo. Right when we started watching.
They were like Hurt Business before Hurt Business like filed for their LLC license.
They were MVP's freelancers.
Exactly. Yeah, they were what brought the startup to life, but then they were cut to the curb.
Oh.
Um,
As a freelancer myself, that hurts.
and yet it's so true.
It is.
When I was freelancing, I responded to an email wrong. I went all the way down to the city, and then they were like, "Oh, you're actually here?" And I was like,
Oh. Also,
and then I cried in Port Authority.
drink number 4. Last drink.
Oh, wow.
Bent up one. We'll see if it explodes.
I'll pause.
Nope.
Disappointing.
I waited long enough.
Sorry. Slapjack goes up to the top rope and then is launched into the canvas. Lashley just socks him over and over, and then there's a toss overhead belly to belly. He gets tossed again by Lashley. Slapjack just taps out on the full lash. And then Nadio, Madden, and Crowbar attack Lashley, and then Hurt LLC come out as well, and it's just... it's bedlam.
Would you say LLC?
Yeah, the Hurt LLC, that's what I say all the time.
Crowbar? I'm
The beauty of Retribution is that there's so much room.
I'm surprised the AIM away message didn't come out.
Well, AIM away message, I think, was cut from the team.
Oh no, I reference Mia Yim as being AIM away message, or
she did, because Mustafa came out.
Did she come out?
She did, because Mustafa came out and he was thrown from the ring and she helped him up.
Oh. I can't wait to see her actually wrestle, because it's been so long. She's sort of just been like...
I don't think we're going to. For a while.
I
There's no women that hate Retribution.
I know, and that sucks. Her business needs a woman member just so they can have Mia Yim fight.
We're waiting.
Just have Kayla be part of Hurt Business. Kayla versus Mia Yim. Also, is Mia Yim's Retribution character Reckoning or Retaliation?
I think it's Reckoning.
I thought Mercedes was Reckoning.
I think she's Reckoning.
Both those
Honestly,
names are
though,
so
doesn't matter.
stupid.
Yeah. I think AIM away message is probably better.
Yeah.
Because in my head, Mercedes Martinez was fizzed, so.
Spooch just said recycling.
She's reduce, reuse, recycle.
Oh no. Reply all.
God. God, the worst.
Yeah, I hate replying all.
Oh, God. Alright.
So, last match of the day. The one I can say I got right. Are you still on your first one or are you on your second one?
Second.
Okay.
Still mango. But
I hate that the ones you got right, or the ones you got wrong, were the very first and very last matches of the day. Meanwhile, everything in between you got right.
I know. Well, listen, like I said, I was drinking if Drew won, and I was drinking if Drew lost, so one way or another, I may as well go down with the ship.
Yeah.
And you know what? It hurt a lot less than I thought it would. But it still hurt a lot. To be fair, though, this was not Drew's best match, so I think that's kind of what helped.
Yeah, it was clunky. And I think...
It was just, yeah.
There was a certain point that we got to where everything after that was just, like, basically dragging on its hind legs.
Yeah. Yep. Alright. Drew walks out. He goes into the ring. Before he can even get into the cell, Randall, Master of Disguise, appears.
I hate...
Just standing next to the cameraman as a PA.
I hate this so much. Like, why is he suddenly, like, Detective Pistachio, Master of Disguise? Do you remember that movie?
Yes, I do.
I have very
I don't get it.
I have very just blurred memories of that movie. Just like the pistachio in like the turtle costume saying turtle turtle.
Turtle. Yes, I recall that.
And
Also the fact that Randy's like disguises are always him just in like baggy clothes and like a
yeah,
mask.
it's always like just crew members, either like a janitor or a PA or didn't he have another one at some point, or is that it?
I think that was it. I just think it's funny. Maybe this is just Randy's like mission to bring like the underappreciated jobs of the world to light.
I mean, maybe he'll reveal himself as the next member of Retribution. Because that would make sense. I like, since Retribution was like started, I maybe thought he might be like the leader of Retribution, but I guess not.
Yeah, I don't know about. Let's get into this because there's a lot of notes. So Randy appears in disguise. Drew immediately does not allow him to land a single blow. Randy starts throwing Drew around into the cage. Randy clears the announce desk, but Drew refuses to be tossed into it, slams Randy into the announce desk visor that's off to the side. Randy and Drew finally make it into the cell after like a couple minutes. And there's a kick to the midsection of McIntyre, and then they're just exchanging blows for a while. Drew begins punching Randy in the corner. There's a failed RKO, and Randy is sent over the top rope into the cage. Drew drives Randy into the cage twice, and then Drew begins slamming Randy into the cell and then the post. Then there's some chair shots. Andrew gets to the stairs and shoves them into Randy's face. Drew throws the stairs at Randy, but Randy avoids it. At this point, I screamed a little bit because I was like, oh god. Those are big, heavy metal stairs being thrown by a big man and another man. But Randy avoids these stairs and slips back into the ring. Because of the camera shots, for a second, I genuinely thought that he just vanished.
I thought so too. I was like, the shots they were using, I was like, wait, where the fuck did he go?
I was expecting him to be like somehow on the side of the cage, like waiting to drop down into like an RKO.
I thought we would
It was so weird.
I thought we'd cut to him just being on the other side of the fence, just outside of the cage.
Morphed. So not Andrew. There is a chair shot to the knee after a failed claymore, and then Randy catapults Drew into the ropes, stomps Drew's head into the steps, and then shoves him into the cage. He then, so he's shoving Drew into the cage. Drew is groaning loudly, while Randy matches his groans. So it's just, oh, and I'm like, why are we doing this, Randy?
I feel so sorry if anybody out there was watching with parents in the other room and who thought that they were watching porn.
To be fair, the camera shot as well, not exactly the most innocent thing in the world.
Oh, absolutely. It was
just Drew's head in the fence and Randy's head over his.
Oh, God.
Then, because Randy had come in sweatpants as part of his costume, Randy then wraps the pants he was wearing around Drew's head and shoves him back into the fence.
Which made no sense because he wasn't choking him, he wasn't blinding him, but he was still saying, you can't see, so I'll describe to you what's happening. But meanwhile, you can see Drew's, his left eye, just wide open, which then slowly closes.
Also, he was like, yeah, describe it to me. Tell me about the rabbits, George.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to compare him to Lenny. That's exactly what it was like, though!
Tell me about the rabbits, Lenny. Oh wait, which one was the?
George was the one with the gun, and Lenny was the one who wants to hear more about the rabbits, and he also killed a puppy with his bare hands. And I had to read that in 8th grade, and I said,
Yeah. So tell me more about um the rabbits, Lenny. George was the one holding up the gun to Lenny.
No, George is holding the gun to Lenny's head, and Lenny's like, "Tell me about the rabbits, George," because they're talking about their future. And George is describing what their future is going to be like.
Oh, okay. And by that point, Lenny had pet the rabbit to death.
This was right afterwards, I believe.
God,
he pets the rabbit to,
That was the saddest book I've ever read.
I had to read that in 8th grade, and my like sappy little heart was like.
My ass, who hated reading, like was sobbing at that book and like interested in every single detail. I remember that whole book to this day.
My teacher in that English class that I had to read it in, she showed us the movie after we read the book. There were 2 guys in my class who were massive troublemakers. And my teacher was an older lady who did not remember a goddamn thing half the time. And she'd put on the movie and she would say, "Okay, class, where did we leave off?" And the 2 of them would pipe up and they'd be like, "Oh, we never started it." 4 classes in a row, we rewatched the beginning of Mice and Men. 4 classes in a row. Because every time she was like, "Where did we start?" Like, we never started it.
Oh my god. That sounds so annoying.
It was kind of funny, honestly, because I could stop paying attention. But they also used to open up the window by the radiators and just slowly push things out of the window. Until one day a kid came up and he was like, "This textbook fell out of your window." And my teacher was like... Anyways, I think we were talking about wrestling.
Oh, I just want to say that book of Mice and Men, Lord of the Flies, and The Great Gatsby are like my 3 favorite books growing up. And 2 of those 3 are like awful. Like just tragic.
It's funny to me that like my favorite books are all books that like I read in like 8th or 9th grade. And then I realize I'm like, oh, it's because that's the last time I ever read a fucking book.
It's also, I think, the start to when reading comprehension really like peaks for people.
I was in an incredibly high reading level my whole life. I had very high reading comprehension.
Oh, I had awful reading comprehension. Like every single quiz based on reading like chapters and books, I failed every single time. It was awful.
I got a nearly perfect score on my reading comprehension and my English SATs.
You. So talented.
I'm very smart. I know. And look at us, we're still in the same fucking apartment doing the same shit.
Hey. At least we've got real jobs.
Yeah, I guess. Sometimes I wonder how real mine is. Anyways.
It's realer than mine, I can tell you that.
So, let's see, where are we? All right. So Drew is thrown into the steel steps, and Randy sets the steel steps. Like, so he's thrown into one set of steps. Randy sets up the steel steps on the other end, so they were like laying perpendicular to each other, one on top of the other. And he tries to slam Drew into the steps that he's already at once more, but Drew stops it. And Randy says, "All right, fuck that," puts a thumb in Drew's eye, and then taunts him for a little bit before throwing him into the steel steps that he has set up. Mind you, puts the thumb in his eye. Drew goes down to the steel steps that they're already at, slams his hand down twice, and Randy follows him, slams his hand down twice on those steps, and then takes Drew and throws him into like the little contraption he's made. And I was like, Randall, win with grace. My God, man. Anyways, Randy gets the table out. Drew's in pain. Drew punches Randy in the midsection to just kind of slow the Viper down. It's a hard-won fight at this point. There's a backbreaker to Drew, and he's still kicking out at 1. He's still looking so good. He was so good. So good.
But it was that point that I knew that Randy would win, because the way he was looking was like, what can I fucking do to kill this man?
See, I knew he was going to win because I knew I'd gotten scot-free for a really long time.
True.
So then, clothesline out of the corner to Randy, and a second one. And my fucking God. This was like the 5 seconds where shit got fucking wild, and I was like, maybe we're going to be okay. There's an overhead belly-to-belly suplex to Randy. And then he does it a second time. And it's like not just like the regular Drew McIntyre, like overhead toss belly-to-belly, like kind of like almost like a snap. It was just like lift, throw. And he got him again, lift, throw. And I was like, fuck. It was bonkers. Kicks Randy in the midsection. He goes for the future shock DDT. It's not a good fight if we don't see that. I just want to stand by that. Then he does a neck breaker, which is really an RKO. It's fine. To Randy. And then kips up, and I said, we're still in it, boy. Randy is then he's slung over the shoulders of Drew, but he breaks free, and Drew follows him from the ring and then is slammed into the apron. Randy is once again sent overhead belly-to-belly toss suplex into the table. And we had talked about the Draper DDT. We talked about which one we would get today. Whether it was Randy.
It's always so much fun wondering what's going to happen with the draping DDT.
We've gotten the weird little airplane noise. You can go and do it if you want. Exactly. That, or the weird licking his lips that I don't care for. Yeah, not a fan of that either. Instead, because we talked about maybe which one we would get today. Mm-hmm. Instead, we get him holding Drew and just goes, ha! And like, Randy, stop! You're so fucking weird, my dude!
Honestly, you wouldn't expect it by looking at him, but Randy Orton is like one of the most animated wrestlers in the WWE
He's really
right
goofy.
Now. He is.
He's a goof.
But like
even after that, Drew's still kicking. Go on.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt at all. But if you look at him on Instagram, he seems more goofy than he does with his personality during promos.
Well, because he just seems pissed off all the time in his promos.
Oh, absolutely.
At this point, though, Drew is still kicking out at 1. I don't know how. So Randy then rummages under the ring and pulls out bolt cutters.
Oh,
cuts the bolt off the.
Yeah, I keep interrupting, but at this point, when Drew kicked out at 1, Randy was like, because the ref said 1, and Randy was like, "Come on, will you give me 2? Will you give me 2?"
It's like, Randy, what does that mean? What does it matter now?
What does it do for you?
It's not an extra point on your like record or something. So Randy then has the bolt cutters and he cuts the lock off and just like looks like he's gonna fuck off. I don't really know what the plan was. Drew, however, follows him, knocks him in the back of the head with his elbow, and then throws him into the barricade. Yes.
You said that he was just gonna walk away and just like pretend that he's feigning like an injury or something.
I thought that was what his plan was.
Right, and you convinced me at first, and I was like, maybe he is actually like genuinely trying to leave. But
it was very confusing because like it looked like he was like gonna just lope off, and then the moment Drew got close to him, he's just gonna be like, yeet.
Yeah, because it wouldn't seem like Randy to just like, all right, I'm fucking out, peace. Like the 13-time WWE champion.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. Even the announcers were like, I don't know what the plan was there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I didn't know either. But yeah, so Drew then throws him into the barricade. Randy throws Drew into the steel door of the cage and decides he is going to scurry up the cell. Andrew looks at him for a while, and one of the refs says, "Hey, Drew, you don't have to follow him." And I said, Drew, he's right, you don't.
Also, prior to that, Randy had just been like looking up at the top of the cage the entire time and was just teasing that he would climb up. Meanwhile, like we're all thinking, like, there's no point in climbing up because the pin has to be done inside the cage. Like, what's the point? Even if you throw them off, you still have to get them inside the cage. So.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, the referee's saying, Drew, you don't have to go up there. You don't have to follow him. And I was like, yeah, Drew, honestly, the pin has to be done inside the ring, so you could just stay in the ring. Just stay there. Who's to fucking say you can't do that? And Drew says, me, I'm to fucking say I can't do that. So he climbs up too, and I was like, Drew, that seems like the stupidest shit you could possibly do. Randy somehow produces something that definitely looks like a lightsaber.
I don't
know what it's doing on top of the cage.
It was literally a pipe with a little black painted part and then a long red painted part. And the way Randy was holding it, he held it by the black part. It looked like a fucking lightsaber. I expected Drew to just pull out like a blue one.
It was so strange. I was like, I don't even know what that's supposed to be.
Like, who's just leaving a pipe on the top of a fucking cage?
Outside of looking like a lightsaber, it also looked like a wiffle ball bat because, like, you know how like they're taped off at the bottom?
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
That's not gonna hurt anybody. I've been hit by a couple wiffle ball bats in my time as a human being. It doesn't hurt.
Wait, you have?
I went to summer camp. Yeah.
Oh.
I've been hit by a couple wiffle ball bats.
Okay.
Anyway, so Drew attacks him. And then decides, once Randy is down, he says, this is a perfect time for me to yell into the heavens. Not paying attention to the fact that Randy is basically stood between Drew's legs as he's standing. And the little lightsaber goes right into Drew's crotch. Randy then decides, I've had my fun up here, I'm climbing back down. We got their shot, we got to use the drones.
Alright, the moment at the top of the cage was so short, you didn't need that. There was no point.
Well, the only reason there was a point was for what happened, but it could have been done differently. So Randy starts climbing back down, and Drew's like, well, I guess I'm going to follow you instead of climbing down the other side or something like that. You know, something that makes sense. I don't know. Just me. Somehow, and it's the same shit that always annoys me about side of the cage fights, where it's like two people up relatively high from a place that they don't quite want to fall from yet, and just going,
Yeah.
It's like,
as much of that as that sucks, whenever you see two guys fighting on the side of the cage, the only thing you're waiting for is for one of them to fall off. That's all you're waiting for.
Yeah.
I wish it was done better, just like you said. But that's the climax you're waiting for. And we got it. But everything could be done a little harder. You could have used the little holes in the cage rather than little platforms to rest your feet on. Because as soon as we saw those, we knew that's going to be where they're fighting on the side of the cage.
Right. And Drew thought, oh, it's a better idea for me to move over now that we're on these platforms to start hitting Randy. And then he somehow loses his grip multiple times. Finally, Drew is knocked off, sent through the announce desk, and my God, I had a fucking mini heart attack because Drew, when he hit the announce desk on his back.
Mm-hmm.
My brain did not calculate any of that into my concern.
Because he rolled onto his stomach.
Right. So then he must have bit something. Something must have happened. His mouth is bloody now. And he must have also at the same time when he fell I think he may have hocked up like kind of a loogie, basically. So there was like a bloody, shiny like patch right where his soul patch is, right where I know there's hair.
One thing we might not have considered.
Or continue.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just want to say
Go on.
Something we might not have considered is he might have picked up a blade at the announce desk.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre does not strike me as the type of guy to blade, especially considering the fact that he doesn't strike me as the type. Bobby Lashley maybe, but
yeah.
After watching the whole documentary where Drew's whole thing was like, I just want to be me out there. I want to be honest.
Hmm.
The idea of him blading just kind of throws me for a loop.
Okay.
I mean, if that is what ends up being the case, I'd be shocked.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he would.
I more so immediately I thought, because again, where we are accustomed to seeing part of Drew's facial hair, where it's dark,
Mm-hmm.
the way the lights were hitting it, the angle, it looked like a bloody red, smooth almost patch on his mouth. And I said, oh my God, I think he like sheared off part of his chin, or he bit through his entire fucking lip, which I've heard of people doing. I knew a kid who did it. Obviously, there's plenty of wrestlers who've done it. I was like, oh my God, something's wrong.
It looked like
Luckily,
it too, because his lip was kind of like inverted a little bit, like he wasn't really showing it.
It was something like looked wrong about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like also the shape looked wrong. Nice.
All four.
But luckily, we had several close-ups thereafter to confirm that it was probably just a lot of spit and blood all at once. May have bitten his lip, may have bitten his tongue, may have dislodged a tooth or something.
He cleans it up too.
Huh?
He cleaned up all the blood, like towards the end of the fight. There was like nothing there.
Right, that's why I think it was just spit, because he probably just like went like... Yeah. But also it was kind of concerning because like he was relatively convincing at first, where he was just like, and I was like, oh no, something horrible has happened.
By this point, we know Drew is a great actor, so we should know.
I was like kind of worried that like I was worried, and this will make me gag if I think about it, but like I was worried that like maybe he like lost a tooth and swallowed it.
God, yeah.
Yeah,
especially after the McFoley references where he lost teeth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, because McFoley, it wasn't even that like, he lost a tooth, or maybe he lost a tooth, but like it went through his lip too.
He lost two of his teeth. Like I think one of his front teeth and the one next to it went through his lip, was like sticking out, because I watched it on the bump. Where
we've all seen it.
They went like through and were sticking out of his nose.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I have seen that plenty of times. I'd rather not remember it. That and like the Cesaro thing, forever. I will never be okay.
Yeah.
I don't like. I've chipped a tooth before, and that alone. Any mouth trauma, horrifying to me. I don't like anything happening in my mouth that is not just me like chewing food.
The whole face.
There have been a couple times where I've accidentally shit. I mean, yeah, but like I feel like the teeth are just like. And like the gums and stuff, like there have been a couple times where like I was eating French fries. We went out to lunch once, and I was eating French fries, and like the sharp part of a fry went right into the roof of my mouth, and I stopped eating. I was like, I don't want to eat anymore. This makes me feel nauseous.
Also, before we get to the best of the night, I do need to take a little bathroom break.
Oh no, I didn't.
Well, we'll take a little break for both of us. Yeah.
Okay. You have like a
slide
screen that you can put up?
No.
Yeah. Oh.
You have to riff. Yeah, you have to riff.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Drew's spitting up blood, and he's just crawling. At this point, I was like, unless something massive happens, it's over, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Randy gets into the ring. Drew gets into the ring. Randy's being gross. I know what's happening. We're waiting for those shoulders to dislocate as we punch the mat. Drew immediately gets up, backslide into a Claymore kick. So the backslide doesn't work. He Claymore kicks Randall. Tries to Claymore kick him again. And it fails. Then there's an RKO. And I knew.
And that's it.
And it was over. And it's fine. I didn't cry, actually. Shockingly. Mostly because I'm getting a headache again. I've had a headache for 4 days now.
And also, this matchup has happened so many times at pay-per-views that you have to get to the point you're just like, okay, Randy's going to get the title at some point.
And I said multiple times, if there was anyone who's going to take the title off of Drew, at this point with the available wrestlers that are there, it may as well be Randy.
Right.
I can't be that upset because he deserves it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be passed on to Edge, and then Drew's going to get it back in front of a crowd. That's going to be how it works. We know that plan.
I also think that like when you're somebody like Drew, who is so beloved by Vince.
Mm-hmm.
This is not his last time holding that title. And ultimately, what this means now is, I mean, we basically started watching the episode after WrestleMania.
No,
I don't know how we managed that, actually.
Before WrestleMania, we didn't watch WrestleMania.
No, I think the first episode we watched was after WrestleMania because the first thing we saw was Drew getting interviewed by Kayla after the match.
We watched SmackDown first, and then we watched Raw.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah. Because I think...
Oh, yeah, okay.
What was the first... We watched... Oh, the first thing we watched was the Orchestra of Destruction with Cesaro and Shinsuke.
Right. What a fateful night, by the way.
Oh my god, yeah.
Mark straight up just turned on, like, we were scrolling through the channels after I got back from work right before the pandemic really hit, and we were like, what do we watch? And we scrolled through, and I was like, I want to watch SmackDown? I haven't watched SmackDown in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, sure.
And now...
And then he didn't turn it off, and I was like, oh my god, I think he's enjoying it.
And now here we are.
But our first Raw episode was right after WrestleMania, which I think is absolutely insane.
Because we watched Seth Rollins versus Drew, and we were like, whoa, that was great. And they're both on Raw.
Right. Because I remember the first thing we watched was that post-WrestleMania interview with Drew when Big Show tried to take him on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the fuck? Because I couldn't tell if he was a heel or a face at that point. I was like, I just think that the nice thing about this, while it is bittersweet, is now we get to watch that journey all over again. And I'm sure that we'll see it again.
Yeah, except minus the Scottish psychopath when he was with Shane McMahon.
And I'm excited to see where this takes him now. I'm excited to see, like, the real Drew McIntyre instead of the Scottish psychopath and, like, playing another character.
And I'm excited where they're going to take Randy being the WWE champion, because that opens up crazy doors.
Yeah, I think as much as, like, I knew that this was going to upset me, I'm not as upset because Drew is such an amazing wrestler and, like, such an inspiring person in general that, like, I'm just so excited to be there through it all again. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see that entire journey once more.
Then when it happens in front of crowds, it'll be even fantastic. Even more fantastic.
Yeah. It's sad, but...
Alright, so do we want to move into best of the night and for our little bathroom break each? I am dying.
Take the sign down and we can go pee. I'm going to take the sign down and then I'll put it back up once I come back from the bathroom.
Okay. So, I'm going to mute my mic real quick.
Alright, kids. I'm not good at riffing. I've never been good at riffing. Did my makeup a little differently. I've had a headache for 4 days, something like that. Started drinking White Claw. Have the headache again. It's fine. My migraine medicine doesn't work anymore. Probably a product of just anxious living. But anyways, I don't know what I want to talk about. I really expected myself to cry after Drew lost, because I am a bit of a sap like that, but I didn't. Shockingly. Honestly, if I were going to cry at any point, I think it would probably have been Hell in a Cell. But I think it'll be exciting. I think that this leads us to a really interesting point where, like, a lot of people are coming back. A lot of people are looking like they might be ready. I mean, Edge might not ever be ready to come back, because Edge did say, like, I'm old now, so, like, healing from injuries isn't quite as fast as one might hope it would be. But with that said, I think it opens up a lot of opportunities, and time's flying so fast now. It's like, because of my own job plus the week being split up. So, like, the week's split up by 5 days now because I've got a job now. Plus, we have the podcast every other day during the week. Plus, then we have pay-per-views time is just like sprinting by. And I feel like it's going to be WrestleMania before we even fucking realize it. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen and how everything's going to come back. And Mark is back, so that means I can stop ripping. Ripping.
All right. Your turn.
Okay.
And I'll riff. All right. How's everyone doing tonight? I just want everyone to know, after drinking 4 White Claws very quickly, in the matter of less than 2 hours, I am pretty drunk because I had a beer while we were watching show, and it was 5 drinks tonight. Feeling good. I haven't gotten this drunk in a while. But I hope everyone's having a fantastic night. Fantastic Sunday night before going to work tomorrow morning. If you're working 9 to 5 or a regular hour job. I don't. I work freelance, so my hours are very much up in the air. But the most interesting thing about tonight wasn't the change in titles. It wasn't the emotion. It wasn't the character. No, it was the Mark Power Rankings. The Pinfall Podcast Power Rankings. And something fell in on Liz's side, and I have no idea what it was. But the fact that Drew McIntyre and Bayley not drop any spots at all, despite losing their titles. They remain in the 1 and 2 ranked spots, despite losing their titles and losing their matches. Bayley, though, very close to losing her number 2 spot to Montez Ford. All right. Best of the night?
Yes. Let me know when you want to know what your punishment is.
What was that?
Let me know when you want to know what your punishment is.
Oh, I'm ready to know at any point.
Okay.
So.
Your punishment.
Oh boy.
Just drink one more.
No.
Honor of your loss. One more in honor of your loss. And when you have the time, I want you to give a minute diatribe on why people should vote.
Why people should vote in general?
For this particular election, why people should vote in general.
Not for any specific candidate, just to vote.
Without being too polarizing for the sake of us as human beings, but
okay.
I'll deliver this to you.
Okay. So wait. Do you want me to finish that in a certain amount of time or just before the podcast ends?
Before the podcast ends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Watermelon, perfect. It tastes so good. All right. So, before we get into the best of the night, let me describe to you. What is it in a minute?
Hang on, I'll time you.
Okay.
In a minute, discuss why people should vote this coming election.
Okay.
Starting now.
All right. So, if you're all citizens of the United States, even if you're outside of the United States, it is very important to vote because you are deciding what happens with the future of whatever country you live in. If you live in the United States and we are approaching November, the importance of you voting is even greater because you have a Cheeto in the office that is currently doing, whether you believe correctly or not, atrocities to this country. But you are part of this country, and it is your civic duty to vote because we live in right now, I guess, a representative republic. And if you don't vote, your representation in your county is a little less than it should be. Because all my life I have been living in a Republican represented county, and had I been voting for most of my life, my vote would have counted more, and maybe that would have helped turn it around. Probably not, but it would have helped. And if you live in other countries, I would hope that you live in more of a democracy than we do. And your vote would especially count even more. I don't want to assume what kind of government you live in. But what time am I at?
You're at 1:48. I just want to see how long you'd go.
Okay.
But it is important to note, early voting has opened up in a lot of states. If you can vote, you should vote. If you can't get to the polls, hopefully you get an absentee ballot by now, or figure something out. But early voting has started. If you can vote, go now. Beat the heat. Or bring your ballot to your polling place. You can usually jump all the lines, so don't let those lines deter you if you have a ballot in hand. And come election day, please fucking vote. Please vote. Oh my God, please vote. Please. Please.
And no matter what state,
I'm begging.
No matter what state you're in, whether you're voting Republican, Democrat, or third party, your vote really matters. It is your civic duty, and as a citizen of the United States, it is very important that you vote because it is your, as many would say, your God-given right.
Also, it is important to note that even if you are living in a state, because Mark and I live in a state that is not a contest state, we know that New York's probably going to go blue because the city represents the majority of the population, and then upstate New York has no say in what happens in the government. It's fine. But to be fair, a lot of people in upstate New York probably shouldn't have that.
How dare you, Sploocha? Sploocha said, sigh. Fine, I'll vote, writes in Kanye. How dare you?
Sploocha, no!
How?
Mark, you said people could vote third party if they wanted to. This is on you.
No, Kanye is not third party. He is specifically not third party. Do not vote Kanye. That is a wasted vote.
The cat's voting for Kanye, by the way, so if you want to be on her side, go for it.
The cat is not old enough to vote.
Cat, you 6-year-old fool. Oh, she just lowered her head.
Good.
But yeah, even if you're living in a state that's like not contested because the electoral college exists and it's a goddamn heap of flaming trash, you should still vote. Just vote.
Yeah, please. I mean,
voting numbers have been amazing lately, actually.
The county that I've grown up in might be voting blue for the first time in decades, so please vote.
Damn, what's that like? My county's voting red, and I know that for a fucking fact, and see, it's fine.
It's almost
we get more cows than people.
It's almost as if we should abolish the electoral college and just count the popular vote.
It's almost as if the poorer counties happen to vote more red because they've been let down multiple times.
But this isn't
valuing their opinions.
This isn't a political podcast, so
right. We might think about doing just a actually fun, vaguely fun election day podcast.
Possibly.
Just fun. Nothing too heated, just us having some drinks and talking.
Would
Nothing crazy.
I've meant to ask you, would it be us watching the election live or reacting after the fact, kind of what we do with wrestling?
Us watching.
Okay.
Us watching.
Okay.
If it's reacting, it might be just me crying, so we'll see.
Yeah. That's still
we might do that, so.
That's still up in the air right now. Keep an eye on our Twitter.
And remember to vote for your local. Yeah, that too.
At Pinfall Podcasts.
You interrupted me a million times.
I'm sorry.
Can I just say what I was going to say?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, remember to vote for your local represented officials as well, because that's just as important.
Yes, absolutely. Your
This message was endorsed by White Claw.
Your local representatives have a little bit more of a say than your federal representatives.
Yeah, honestly.
On your day-to-day. All right, so best of the night. Finally.
Yee.
So, promo of the night. We didn't have too much tonight, but we did have a little more than most pay-per-views. Which, by the way, I just want to shout out. This was like the best pay-per-view we've had since Money in the Bank.
Honestly, and that's what makes me so mad about the Elias, Jeff, I was gonna say slapstick, Slapjack, Lashley fight.
Slapstick.
That wasn't even intentional. But it would have been even better. It would have been perfect without those. But even with them, it was still a pretty good fucking match.
Oh yeah, because Bobby and Slapjack was still great. Jeff and Elias was a good match. Just didn't have a great ending, but still, it was better than everything prior to it. Maybe not Money in the Bank, because I would say Money in the Bank was like a perfect pay-per-view. That was fantastic.
Especially the Undertaker living in the fourth floor break room.
Yeah, even prior.
Still my favorite tweet.
Even prior to the like the Money in the Bank match, like the Drew Seth Rollins fight was excellent. The Braun Bray Wyatt fight was great.
I'd pay to see Drew versus Seth again.
Oh, absolutely.
Like more than $9.99 a month. I'd pay more than that.
Yeah, but we're not gonna get that anymore.
Oh, absolutely
not. But promo of the night. We started off with the Retribution promo, where Mustafa Ali challenges Hurt Business and basically solidifying this Hurt Business Retribution feud. Which that was a good promo. Mustafa is great on the mic, and the rest of the Retribution is good. They're kind of solidifying themselves as like the core Retribution members. I think they're done with the random Retribution members with the masks and the black outfits, and we're just down to the core 5.
It's very important for me to know also, I don't know what Shane? What's his name?
Shane Thorne?
Yeah, Shane. I just saw a tweet about Shane McMahon, so my head was spinning. I don't know what he does, if it's like partially makeup, like white eyeliner maybe, and white mascara or something. But the way his eyes are so fucking wide in his mask, it's fucking horrifying. I noticed it for the first time today during the promo, and I was like, I don't feel safe. I feel gross.
I mean, I guess that kind of helps sell Retribution and Slapjack.
Yeah. Specifically Slapjack.
I mean, just imagine being Shane Thorne. You could just snort a ton of coke and just be like, okay, I'm in character. All right. After that, we had the interview with Otis and Tucky, which was very forgettable. Probably the worst promo of the night. Not because of anything bad, but just because everything else kind of overshadowed it. After that, we had the interview with Miz and Morrison, where we had Tucky show up and then Otis attack Tucky. Tucky.
Okay.
We won't get any of that anymore. I'm so sad.
Fuck you.
It's so
Stop.
sad.
Stop.
Cry. And I saw somebody mention this on Twitter, but we'll probably see a lot of Otis and Tucky on each other's brands a lot for a while. But after that, we had the Hurt Business promo where this kind of solidified that I really like the Hurt Business. I think they're one of the best parts of Raw. MVP is great on the mic, and I think the main reason we hated them was because they were up against Drew McIntyre, where they were like primary heels, but now they're like the last defense of the WWE, which is weird. They're kind of faces, but they're kind of not. They're kind of like in the same spot Charlotte Flair was in, where they're just kind of floating in between. They're kind of their own entity. I really like this. They're kind of just living for themselves. I really liked everything about this promo. And it's the last promo of the night. And you know what? My promo of the night is the promo of the Hurt Business. I mean, what other competition is there?
Only because I didn't like Mustafa's promo. It just felt weird. It felt like he didn't know what he was actually supposed to say when he was there.
I mean, I like that promo a lot. In fact, until like a few minutes ago, that was my promo of the night, was the Retribution promo. I do really like Mustafa on the mic. I think that Mustafa being the leader and everyone else kind of being like the background cronies is great. Until I thought about it, and the Hurt Business kind of putting wrestling and their place in the WWE in a new light is very cool and interesting. The fact that that MVP said like Bobby Lashley isn't somebody we send to battle. He isn't somebody that sends other people into battle. He's somebody that leads us into battle. I think it's just really cool how they're kind of changing up the landscape.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They are taking a situation that I thought was kind of trash and turning it into something that I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm still not. It's the hard part for me though with like Retribution especially is that it's like I love them because I think they're fun. I don't want to love them though because I know what they technically represent to like Vince.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, don't sucker me into this shit.
And that's why I love why they're being pitched with the Hurt Business right now, is because like they're using this opportunity to kind of gain their footing and find their place in the WWE. Kind of having this faction versus faction where you have individual matches. They kind of have time to figure out what they're about, what their motivation is, all that stuff. So it's nice. It's a good development of a new faction.
I would like to get more development though of like the members themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think we'll ever get that because of what they technically represent. I don't think that they would ever put that effort in to develop those characters, but I'd really like to like just I think that opens like a lot of opportunities, especially if they tie them back to their NXT characters where it's like Mia was kind of underused towards the end of her time in NXT. Dijak got fucking murdered. Shane, who the fuck is Shane Thorne at this point?
Shane,
And
I
Dio
think
Madden just vanished.
I think last time we saw Shane, he was getting destroyed by Bronson Reed.
Right. It's like they have such good stories to like tie in. I don't know if they're going to be willing to do it though.
Yeah, that's one thing I really want them to really close on is like whether or not these are their NXT counterparts, because it really fucks with them attacking Keith Lee.
Yeah, I. Oh. Ah. The paradox.
But
You look so trashed in those fucking sunglasses. It's like Weekend at Bernie's.
and
You
I
straight up like look like Weekend at Bernie's right now.
I still have like half of this can to go. So our fighter of the night, I am solid on this. There's no convincing me otherwise. I want you to know that ahead of the fact. But we started with R-Truth versus Drew Gulak, and Drew Gulak was fantastic in this match. Like, we haven't seen this Drew Gulak since he fought AJ Styles for the Intercontinental title. Like, for some reason, this Drew Gulak was amazing, despite it just being the 24/7 title. I guess because it was a pay-per-view and he felt the need to come alive, he was outstanding. I loved everything Drew Gulak did. And I wish we had this side of him more often. It was just missing a little bit of little kind of personality, although we had it in the beginning of the fight when he was fucking with Lil Jimmy, basically punted Lil Jimmy away.
It was amazing.
This was like the best 24/7 title match we've had ever. This was great. After that we had Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns. And my god, Roman being able to sob like on command in the middle of the ring. Holy
Sociopath.
shit. He is
Insane.
a sociopath. Yeah.
He's like Dennis Reynolds level right now.
Oh my god. Not only did he sob in the ring, but like immediately after that, he just sucked up those tears and was like, "Yes, I am the most dominant wrestler in the WWE right now."
Fucking horrifying.
And then during the actual fight, he was a monster. Although it wasn't like the most technically impressive fight that we saw tonight. Roman was still like dominant as hell, giving like his character, his personality as much time as possible. And this is what this fight mainly focused on was their characters, and that's what I love. Roman was just outstanding. Like, my god, was he? I can't believe they put him as like the first match of the main event today, because he should have been the main event. What were you gonna say?
I'm saving it for match of the night.
What do you mean? You're saving what for match of the night?
I'm saving what I meant to say for then.
Okay. And after that, we had Elias versus Jeff Hardy, and I guess I'll pick Elias. I mean, this match wasn't really impressive in any way. Elias was good because he kind of showed his aggression, his anger, his annoyance with this whole situation after being hit by a car. It feels like we just picked up right where we left off with that storyline, and that's what I really like, because it feels like time hasn't passed at all, and we're back in June when this happened, or July, whenever that happened. I think I honestly really like Elias being back, because it feels like we're months we're months in the past, but even though we're still in goddamn October.
How does this happen?
No.
While I was riffing, I was talking about how like time flies so fast that like I'm sure. Where are you going? You better not be laying down at my spot. Oh my god, the stretch on that cat. Anyways, that I feel like it's gonna be like Road to WrestleMania very soon. I'm just gonna be like,
Oh no. As soon as it gets to WrestleMania, that would have marked 1 year of us watching wrestling. which is shocking because
God.
we talk about wrestling like we're some
Horrifying.
kind of authority, even though we've been watching for less than a year.
Okay, I watched before. That's a furry bullet just flew at me.
Nice.
Why'd you jump at that angle? Oh my god. Hey, butt scrumptious. I haven't had this much to drink in a very long time, and by that I mean like a week, and it's very weird. I feel actually kind of drunk.
Same.
Is this how we start saving money?
No.
Yeah.
But after Elias and Jeff Hardy, we had The Miz versus Otis, and I think the highlight here is The Miz, because Otis is very much by the book, in that by Otis's book, he's very predictable. He does the same stuff every match, which is fine because, you've got your signatures, you've got your finishers. Everything you do is kind of by yourself. But The Miz really adapted to wrestling Otis, and you really saw why this guy has been wrestling for so long, and why he pretty much deserved the Money in the Bank contract. The Miz was just fantastic. He pulled off some really cool moves that on their own looked fantastic, but when you apply them to this situation, they make him even better. So I'm picking the Miz for this match, although I wish this match had been a little more important. You could have stuck this match as the main event of a regular episode, and it still would have been great. It would have been even better, actually, because we wouldn't be comparing it to Drew versus Randy or Jay versus Roman. But regardless, still great showing from The Miz. Then we had Sasha versus Bayley. And you know what? I think the best showing here was from Bayley. Sasha, I know. But Sasha suffered a lot in this match. And it's not her fault. It was how things went. She suffered the same fate Drew McIntyre did. She took a lot of hits. She had to be kind of improv'd around. Bayley was stuck in these situations where things didn't really go her way. Things didn't go along with the script, and she had to improvise. Just like Randy had to improvise the entire time, or not the entire time, but a lot of the time, because things didn't go so well. Like we saw with the duct taping the kendo sticks together, Bayley still pulled it off. She looked like she was kind of acting through the situation. She was adapting to every step along the way. And this was more so complimenting her performance ability rather than her fighting ability. If we're talking about purely fighting ability, then of course Sasha. But since we're talking about both fighting and performance, I want to compliment Bayley here. She knew how to take a bad situation and just ride with it. And we got that a lot of times because this match was just full of situations that just didn't really go the way that everyone expected. And Sasha mainly just because she was the victim in many of these situations, she kind of just needed to wait out and recover from whatever she was suffering from. And Bayley had to adapt and kind of riff her way through a situation. And I really applaud her for that, although the match didn't really compliment her in that she wasn't able to show off her great fighting skills and what she's capable of in terms of just wrestling. But after that, we had Bobby Lashley versus Slapjack, where Slapjack really shined. I actually really like Slapjack, and I'll pick him for the pick of this fight. Bobby Lashley is dominant as always here, but Slapjack showed himself in ways we haven't seen before. He got a really, really sick DDT, and that's my primary reason for picking him.
I think also one of the most amazing parts is that Slapjack's not that big of a guy.
Right.
And he's also, for being as small as he is, he's not super jacked either. For him to do a DDT the way he did it, where he basically tossed Lashley,
Mm-hmm.
that was impressive as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, Lashley looked good, like Lashley always looks good. But Slapjack looked amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. And, yeah, that just explains why I picked Slapjack for this, so I don't need to say any more. So, after that, we had Drew versus Randy. And I'm going to pick Randy for this.
How dare you?
I know you'll probably disagree, but just the same reason I picked Bayley for Bayley versus Sasha, Randy had to just take these moments and just fly with it. He had to improv his way through this match because things didn't go his way. Like Drew, as soon as Drew fell off the top of the cage and landed on the table, Randy just had to take that every moment since then and just roll with it. Because Drew had needed that time to recover from that long ass fall. Even prior to that, Randy was the one who was driving the storyline, driving the move up to the top of the cage, and he's the most animated one in the match. Normally it's Drew. Normally Drew is the one who is the most animated, the one who is the most emotion driven. But Randy, I think, today was the most fantastic. What do you need to say?
I don't have to say anything. I've been petting the cat this whole fucking time, as you probably could tell. And I had my hand under the desk, and she's probably about to do it again. She jumped up with her paws on the side of the chair and slammed my hand to the bottom of the desk.
She's trying to wrestle now.
And then she started licking my leg. It's the PCW.
Is this Hell in a Cell? Is your room the Hell in a Cell?
I'm in the cell. I'm in the cell here.
Oh no.
But then she started licking my leg, and I was like, I'm about to get bitten. Oh no. I don't know why she does that. She's just like, I love you so fucking much. Thank you for petting me. I'm going to bite you now. Like, okay.
Oh.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to. Anyways, who are you picking?
It's tough because there were 4 standout wrestlers today, and that's Roman, Miz, Sasha, and Randy. But if I were to pick anybody who shined both in a wrestling and character sense, I gotta pick Roman Reigns. The moment Roman sobbed in the middle of the ring, I knew that he would be the wrestler of the night. He was the best actor that we've had.
That was pain.
It was
painful.
It was.
Like, it's one thing for like an actor to cry on cue. It's like, okay, there's several takes. Like, I know that there is.
Mm-hmm.
I've filmed stuff before. I'm not stupid.
And
for a dude to be in the middle of a pay-per-view match and just bring the fucking waterworks and make them look organic, where it's not just like him being like
live,
it was
too.
Like just being like it, like, and like you could tell that it wasn't like, I know what forced tears look like because you get your face all scrunched up just to kind of squeeze the tears out.
Mm-hmm.
That was tears, and I was like, oh, okay. Oh, we're really crying right now. Okay. I have to agree with you. I can't. There was nothing else that even the rest of the matches in this pay-per-view, and as much as I hate to say it, even the Drew and Randy match, may as well not have existed. Mm-hmm. Because this match, for whatever reason they put in the beginning, they really honestly, and I don't like saying this because actually no, I'll be fair with this. They could have put this in the place of the Bayley and Sasha match, and they could have put this in the place of the the Randy and Drew match, and it would have been fine.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know why they put this in the beginning.
Maybe because it was a 40-minute match. They kind of didn't want to end on a 40-minute match. I don't know.
And they could also, maybe also because there's a lot more freedom, it seems, with their matches, that maybe they were like, it's better to put the more unpredictable timing in the beginning and then form everything around it.
Yeah.
Because you get more control at the end there.
But
that hurt.
It did.
It hurt so bad.
It really did.
I did not realize that Roman was that good of an actor. I knew that he was a good wrestler. I knew there was a reason he was a good wrestler. But anybody who ever was like hating on him, because I know that Roman had a lot of hate for whatever reason back in his face days. And maybe it was the Superman punch, or maybe it was that alone, and that's fair.
It was the bulletproof vest.
Also fair. But anybody who ever had shit to say about Roman can eat their fucking tongues right now.
Yeah, like, I think Roman, sorry, I didn't mean my voice to crack there. Roman, I think, is the next Rock, the next John Cena, and that he will move on from the WWE and do greater things.
I would say that Roman's already the current John Cena.
Well,
I'd say that he's the current Roman.
I just mean in mainstream media, because we haven't seen Roman outside of the WWE, really.
That's fair.
But moving on to Fight of the Night, we started off with R-Truth versus Drew Gulak, which was a really good match as a kickoff. Really fun, really comedic. I mean, the first few seconds of this were...
Poor little Jimmy.
Poor little Jimmy. that was the best way to start a match. And then having Drew Gulak...
I didn't expect it.
Oh, yeah. Having Drew Gulak turn up in the way he did. Also, yeah.
I was just going to say, Drew, like, recently, like, his whole thing back when he was, like, Daniel Bryan's coach, like, that was kind of, like, it wasn't, like, a serious thing, but, like, that was very much, like, he was an asshole. And he was still an asshole here, but, like, it was way funnier than we have seen him be in a very long time, and I was like...
Oh, yeah. And seeing people like Drew Gulak and Cedric and Buddy Murphy give me hope for the current 205 Live people like Tony Nese to move on to the main roster in big roles, in big ways. So hopefully we see that from the current 205 Live people. But I do think that match was missing something like more stakes. It was obviously a 24/7 title match, so we know that's going to change in a few days. But then we had the Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns match, which was fantastic. It was tragic. It was a soap opera. I think what it was just missing was more great fighting, more great wrestling. Because most of it was just Roman kind of struggling with his decision on whether he should keep fighting or not, you know? And either Roman or Jey just being passed out. But otherwise, great performance from Jey and Roman in this great fight. Everything coming out of it is fantastic. I'm excited to see where Jey goes next. I'm excited to see what Roman decides to do next. Everything about this fight was excellent. And then we move on to Elias versus Jeff Hardy, which was alright. It was okay. It was very much in the okay side. It wouldn't be a bad match on a regular episode, but in a pay-per-view, it's like very much you know?
Yeah.
Then we have The Miz versus Otis, which was a really good match in a pay-per-view. What?
Okay, sorry. When you said for a pay-per-view, I thought you were talking about the Roman and Jey match, and I was like,
No,
I
no,
said
no.
okay, and then I was like, wait, no.
No,
Sorry.
no.
My
Also,
brain dropped off.
do you mind riffing for one more moment? Because I really have to go to the bathroom.
Oh my god, you and somebody else in this goddamn room? Pepita! Oh my Christ. Yeah, make it fast,
Okay,
please.
I will.
Oh. I've just been like firebombed by my own fucking cat. Dude, you went to the bathroom once today. Fucking animal. She's been constipated. Should be embarrassed for me to tell you that. Our cat also has high cholesterol, which is very annoying because we don't feed her that much food. Like we feed her like half a can of wet food in the morning and then like a quarter scoop of dry food plus some like salmon bits for her coat in the evening. And she came back from the vet because she pees on everything because she was declawed by her previous owners because they were ass. But she came back. She was peeing on stuff again, and she hadn't been for a while. She's on medication to stop her. But she came back, and after $800, which we don't have to spend, they called us after her blood work came back, and they were like, yeah, so your cat's blood work is fine. She doesn't have any kidney problems, which we were like, thank God. As much as a medical problem is easier to fix, sometimes with animals it's not. They were like, but also she has high cholesterol, and I was like, okay. Get her on fucking Lipitor, I guess. But yeah, somebody just crop dust all over the goddamn room. I'm just very stressed out right now. I'll be very honest with everybody because I've had more alcohol than I've had in like a week. Work's very stressful. Life's very stressful. I still have to do the podcast tomorrow. I have a big presentation coming up on Wednesday. It's fine. It's fine. You just slammed the door on himself. You vibing?
Coming in like a wrecking ball right now.
I know you. You came in fast and hard.
I was planning on like doing like a slide in, or like what was that movie with Tom Cruise?
Top Gun?
No, the one where he slides in like
Mission
the
Impossible?
no, when he slides in like the dress
Risky
shirt.
Business?
Risky Business. I was planning on doing that, but I realized I didn't have enough room, so I just was like, I'm gonna just drop into my chair. But then I realized I have my laptop, my hard drive, and everything.
I don't think the Secret Labs warranty covers risky business moves.
Just don't show them this podcast. But anyway,
Since you're not allowed to sweat in that chair either.
luckily I'm not sweating then.
Oh, good.
And Splucha, how dare you say we gotta slow down the claws? Never slow down the claws. There's no laws.
I think it's because my riffing was just me saying I'm very anxious about a lot of things right now.
And also, you gave me an extra claw to finish before the podcast. Otherwise,
True.
I'd be done.
This is partially my fault. And I'm drinking a cocktail because I'm a clumsy bitch. Splucha, also, thank you for joining us for this whole podcast. It means a lot. We missed you during the other podcasts that you haven't been around on.
Absolutely. No pause in the claws. Don't you dare say pause in the claws. Never pause on the claws.
This has been a messier one. Last podcast was a little more tame, I think.
It's because I'm drinking so much more.
Or last pay-per-view. Last pay-per-view, we were not great as far as winning.
We weren't. We tied. We didn't have a punishment.
Yeah. I drunkenly told Mark to make me a grilled cheese afterwards.
Yes,
you did. Very nice.
But anyway, since we are 2 hours and 40 minutes in right now.
Christ, okay.
Talking more about the Miz versus Otis. This match, I thought, in my opinion, was great because we had like a great turn of events. which after some explanation made sense. It was tragic. It was a better fight than we expected. But it very much felt like we're gonna make a twist for the sake of making a twist, you know?
Also, I can't stand every single tag team fucking breaking up right now.
Yeah, exactly.
They straight up said the only people that can challenge for any of the tag team titles are the Street Profits, Cesaro and Shinsuke,
Dolphin Robert
New
Roode.
Day, Dolphin Robert Roode, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay.
And now Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan.
I don't know if that's actually going to last because Daniel Bryan did not seem enthralled by the concept.
He did.
He just seemed happy to be on SmackDown. He was just happy to be on SmackDown. He was happy to be back. He didn't give a shit about Kevin Owens.
Also, the real tag team should be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, but that's a different story for another day. After that, we had Sasha Banks and Bayley, which I don't know how you felt, but I really loved this match. I thought the storyline with this match was outstanding. The personalities and the characters that were presented in this match were great. Even late into the match, we had great personalities being shown, great metaphors being used with Sasha setting up certain things and Bayley taking advantage of them, and then Sasha using Bayley's own move against her. I thought all of that was wonderfully done. And even when things weren't done right, Bayley really recovered and improved her way through the situations. It looked a little rough, but I think that's peak professional wrestling right there, when you can take a rough situation and really improv your way through it, looking less like an improv and more so like a real wrestling match. And then having the finish where you thought Sasha was like dead. Both of us thought Sasha was like really dead. We thought she was going to just lose this just based on the fact that she couldn't wrestle anymore. But then she really came alive and she pinned Bayley, or no, she made Bayley tap and then won the new title. I think go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the fact that she made Bayley tap was a pretty important part. Because it's one thing to get a pinfall, it's like, okay, you just like knocked them down, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But to get her to tap, I mean, she's alive and aware of what's happening, and she said, I can't fucking handle this.
And the fact that she made her tap with the chair as well.
Right. I think my one thing holding me back, this match was great. I'm not going to deny that. Aside from Bayley's weird relationship with her chair that she has now, that I don't really get, being a weirdo over there, staring. I will still maintain the fact that I believe that this storyline would have been way better if we had cut the tag team apart a month earlier. I still maintain that. Or rather, how about this? Instead of that, either cut the tag team apart 1 month earlier, or maintain the stability of the tag team 1 month longer. We were in that weird, precarious place of them being like, because there was a point where like Bayley made some comments about Sasha to her face, where Sasha was like, okay. And then there were like 2 months between that and like the complete dissolution, where it was like they were fine again. I think if they had either kept up the facade of everything being chill for longer, mm-hmm. or cut it off earlier, it would have been better. We would have been so much less annoyed. And again, going back to the whole problem that we're having right now with who can challenge for this title and the fact that there aren't that many singles women, especially in SmackDown. And that's what's making everything very difficult to enjoy. as far as women's wrestling is concerned.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can really use that to judge this match.
Right, I'm only saying that because you brought up the storyline going into this was
Right,
perfect.
right.
That's what you said. I think the fact that we only had to deal with this hatred for about a month was good. I think that's the perfect amount of time. So if we're talking about that storyline, then yes, I think that's fair. But the Bayley and Sasha storyline is completely flawed, and that's something that we can't take away. It's not determining my appreciation for this match or not, though. I just need to make that point, I guess.
Right. But I do think that Sasha should definitely get props for being the true champion in this match, in that she won the title. Bayley, although she held on to it for the longest time in women's wrestling, she still couldn't hold on to it. She's not the real champion here. Sasha is, for winning the championship again, or winning the Smackdown championship for the first time, winning a championship again.
I think also, I'd be excited to see come next pay-per-view, assuming she still has it. Hopefully she still has it. I'd like to see her retain it, because I think that this is a good turning point in her character as a whole. She came in young. I mean, she's a young wrestler as it is. She came in young, and I think that the whole thing, as far as her challenging for titles, especially like Becky, and then like losing titles immediately, was that she was young, she was naive, she was impulsive, and she was looking for the short way out. And now that she's had this slap in the face by Bayley, I think that there's a really good point for her to be like, I'm disciplined and I'm ready to defend this fucking title within an inch of my life. Like full Drew McIntyre on her.
I'm ready for them.
I think that it's time for that.
I'm ready for them to end the stigma that Sasha loses every title at her first pay-per-view defense.
And if they maintain it this time around, I think that's a real disservice to her as a person.
Or it better be to somebody like Charlotte Flair.
Honestly, Charlotte Flair better come out and be like, good job, you fucking said goodbye to Bayley, because that's what I've been asking you to do for a while now.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anything, Charlotte should come back to challenge Asuka and then worry about the SmackDown title. Because Charlotte is technically Raw.
Oh yeah, she is, isn't she?
So, fingers crossed, she might come back soon.
Hopefully. She's been in so many
out now.
She's been in so many photo shoots and so many like videos on her Instagram and everything.
Oh, did you see the Carmella photo shoot, by the way?
No.
Carmella just posted a picture of herself behind like a steel cage with like the untouchable thing as like the caption, and I was like, you weren't even there. It's a silver cage. It's not red. It's not Hell in a Cell. Ma'am.
Carmella's annoying, and I will never get over that.
Isn't it Leah Von Dale now, though? We should be fair.
Wait, what?
It's like Leah Von Dale. I mean, her Twitter name has always been Leah Von Dale. It seems like she might be going by that more often. I don't know if maybe I'm just like noticing things more often or not, but
I would prefer to call her Carmella than Leah Von Dale.
I think the thing with Carmella though is that it's like I just think of Carmella Soprano and I'm like, to be fair, if I'm gonna be any female character from like the lower New York areas or the Jersey areas rather, fine. I would love to be Carmella Soprano.
Spoocha said that's just her real name.
She was a bitch who knew what she wanted.
Spoocha said that's just her real name.
Right. I think it's one of those things where I see her name on Twitter as Leah Von Dale and I always think it's new. And I'm just like, oh, that's what we're going by now. And then I'm like, no, it's not, Elizabeth. I also don't pay that much attention to Carmel, so that's another fault of mine.
But after the Sasha and Bayley fight, we had Bobby Lashley versus Slapjack, which was better than we expected. But still missing some crucial bits that really would have pushed this to the edge, because I could see this happening as like the best match of the night. Honestly, I could see this happening because Slapjack was really pushing himself to be great, especially being like, I think his first time being in a pay-per-view. I I could see Bobby Lashley pushing this as being fantastic. It was missing a couple story bits, maybe a little bit longer of a fight, to be better considered for fight of the night. But otherwise, it was a fantastic match. I could see it being main event of a regular episode.
I think my thing is just like her business's whole thing kind of feels like it's sort of, in one way or the other. I mean, maybe it's like upper tier anti WWE versus lower tier anti WWE. But like her business's whole thing is that like these talentless hacks are like trying to get titles that we deserve, which ultimately is kind of Retribution's vibe too.
I think it's more so like Retribution is saying, hey, these guys are causing chaos in a business that's taking away from us. So let's fuck them up and scare them away.
I think it's also just because they're the only G stables that exist in the WWE.
Oh, that's definitely the real reason. That's the out of kayfabe reason.
I would love to see Seth get like a full stable, so at least that way we have like some variation across the board at some point.
I don't know.
I'd like to see the Messiah have like a bunch of people that come out with him that are just like, yes, Monday Night Messiah. I think that'd be cool. Why have they not done that?
Well, I mean, we almost got that, and then Austin Theory decided to go ahead and do some questionable shit.
I forgot about that. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
My brain has only accepted Austin Theory from like Zelina Angel Andrade to NXT. I have forgotten about the Seth Buddy part in the middle.
Yeah, he was the second disciple. And we almost got a third in Dominic.
Dude, I mean, Dominic hates Buddy. Seth hates Buddy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Just saying, Dom. Seth never tried to hit on your 19-year-old sister.
No, because oh wait. You can go by that logic. Dominic's gonna join up with Murphy out of hatred for Seth. And say, okay, it's fine, you want to fuck my sister.
To be fair, Seth did attack Dominic for no good fucking reason the other day.
Yeah, exactly.
Dominic just came out to the ring and Seth was like, fine. And I was like, no, Seth. That is not your fight.
But we have the main event tonight. I can't believe it's taking this long to get through all of the fights of the night. But we have Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton, which was a great match. I think it did drag for a little bit. I think it was missing a key component. I think it was suffering from being like the third pay-per-view event that we've been seeing with these two. I think Randy definitely should have gotten this at, what was it? Payback was the last one.
I think was Payback the last pay-per-view match?
I think so.
I thought one of my Stark letters fell into my
Yeah,
I do have something to say about this.
I think Randy definitely should have gotten the title a pay-per-view earlier. Oh no, it wasn't Payback, because Payback was with the roll-up.
No, I thought SummerSlam was the backslide. Because you're never going to see it coming, and we thought it was John Cena.
Right. You're 100% correct. Payback was with the ambulance match.
Was that? No, that was not Payback. That was Clash.
Clash, that's the last
Champions.
one. That's the last one.
Jesus. It was like it can't have been that long ago.
Randy 100% should have gotten the title Clash Champions. I think the timing would have been perfect. At this point, we're just sitting here and saying, Randy, why don't you have the fucking title at this point?
I do think also the fact that like Drew didn't have the best match of his life tonight, I think that was a point, because like I think the whole thing that people have been pushing for a while now is Drew's been fighting literally anyone who comes knocking at his goddamn door
Right.
for this title. He's tired. He's been going way too hard for way too long. The only way to make this a convincing fight where it made sense that Randy was going to win was if Drew looked like shit.
I do want to say Drew has been an amazing title holder given the circumstances of the pandemic. He has done a fantastic job.
And given the circumstances of how he won it, it was so hard won for him.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that somebody who like got abandoned by the company and was brought back, you would think that once you got that title, like you'd hold on to that shit for dear fucking life. And he held on to it for a while, and he was fair about it. And I've watched a lot of sports in my time. I've been very in depth with wrestling, with soccer, with baseball. I have never once, even with Aaron Judge, feels weird to say this, but like, I really respect Drew McIntyre as an athlete. Just between like the wrestling, between the work he does, between like the social media stuff that he does, it's like, oh man, you're like a really good dude, aren't you? Shit. There's no way for me to find any joy in you losing this fucking title. There's no way.
I know.
It sucks so much. I'm so sad.
But just talking about this match itself, I think it's not the best match of the night.
It's it served its purpose, and that's what it was there for.
Exactly. I do think it should have happened a month earlier, Randy winning the title. Because this is his fourth time going for the title? Because it was
14th.
SummerSlam?
14th.
Well, no. 14th time winning the title, but
going
against
for
Drew.
The title.
Yeah, because there was SummerSlam, there was Payback, there was Clash, and now there's Hell in a Cell. I almost forgot the name of this pay-per-view for a second.
I could tell.
This definitely should have happened earlier. The match itself was also a bit of a slog, considering Drew, as soon as he fell off of the cage, everything kind of slowed down, and it relied on Randy to just carry the whole thing forward.
To be totally fair, even in spite of the Claymores, after Drew got those first few hits in, when Randy revealed himself as like the PA or whatever the fuck he was pretending to be, it was kind of just Randy attacking Drew. Drew really didn't get anything crazy besides the moment where he had those suplexes, and then he got the failed Future Shock DDT,
the neck breaker.
But he had the neck breaker into the kip up. Once he did the neck breaker, I kind of thought like, oh, maybe we've got this, because like it was kind of using Randy's move against him. But
yeah, but
you couldn't hold on to it forever.
Obviously. But I can't wait for him to get it back in front of a crowd as the new face of the WWE, because you know for a fact that he is the face of the WWE, and he will get it back again in front of a crowd.
Ideally when it's safe.
Yeah.
Ideally when it's safe.
Exactly. But my pick for Fight of the Night, I don't think you'll agree, is...
I don't think I will either. Oh, don't make me do this.
Sasha Banks versus Bayley.
Oh, hurts so bad. Oh.
Can I explain myself real quick?
I guess.
I think this match had a perfect combination of great wrestling with great storytelling, as well as great improv from Bayley to carry the match on her shoulders. Yes, always next week for Slapnuts, Splucha.
No!
The new meme. I think Bayley did an amazing job, because Bayley doesn't really do an amazing job with wrestling herself, but when it comes to carrying a match on her shoulders, when it comes to it, she can really, really do that. But also Sasha can turn around in an instant and come back with amazing wrestling like she did today. And everything coming into and out of this fight is fantastic. Bayley and Sasha are an amazing feud. They're an amazing duo. I can't wait for what comes out of this. and everything prior to Sasha smacking her head against the steel chair. It was creative. It was really fun to see. And I think it being creative is something we didn't see for the entirety of today's pay-per-view. Sasha and Bayley was the most creative bit we've gotten at all today. And you can't say that about any other match that happened today. Really, Sasha and Bayley was innovative. It was inspiring. And one of a kind. I hope you feel bad for saying otherwise.
I spend hours at a time begging for better female wrestling on this fucking podcast. Yes, I was thrilled to see this happen, to be fair. Second of all, white man. Don't come at me like that.
So what are you going to say?
I can't believe I finished my goddamn cocktail before we were ready for this shit.
Are you going to say
your fucking piss breaks?
Jay versus Roman?
Yes, I was going to say that. I'm torn because I like both of these matches. It's just the characters weren't quite there for me with Bayley versus Sasha. The wrestling was 100%, but the emotion and the characters in the Roman versus Jay match was better beyond all belief in comparison to any of the matches tonight.
Now,
even with Drew losing his fucking title that he worked so hard to get, there was so much less emotion between him and Randy than anything I expected. I expected way more.
Now, can I say that with Bayley and Sasha, with the emotion and the character, it was more subtle than Jay versus Roman. It was done in their use of their moves and their techniques, using their own moves against each other, showing the fact that Bayley takes advantage of Sasha in subtle ways. I think this match was much more crafted than Jay versus Roman.
There were arguments you could have made, but crafted, maybe not the one you could have made. It's really hard for me because I think both matches are somewhat historic in their own right. The Roman and Jay match was beyond my wildest dreams of what this match would have been. I knew it was going to be hard for one of them to say I quit. I did not expect it to end the way it did. I did not expect myself to be going flip-flopping through the entire match. Like, I don't think I was right in my prediction.
I mean,
but and
sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. But my bladder is quite full, and therefore it's hard for me to continue to argue. It's out of spite. I'm going to go with you. Only because, as I said before, and I want you to know that this goes against every fiber of my fucking being to admit defeat in such a way on a night where I remain victorious, as I often do during pay-per-views. I predicted the most correct ones. You have only done that once.
Okay.
You've only tied once.
Okay.
As a victorious woman in this household, I would like to say, I have paraded around begging for the women wrestlers of the WWE to be recognized in a way that was respectful. I don't want to say respectful. That sounds like I'm like a middle-aged Christian woman. Like, I've been begging for women wrestlers to have spotlights on them in matches that it was like, holy shit, this is wrestling. As opposed to just like a little doop, caps in the face. So I'm going to go with you because this was wrestling. Like, this was wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I respected the shit out of that.
And also, comparing Roman to Sasha, Roman crying in the middle of the ring, that's what champion sobs in the middle of their championship match. Like,
Mr. Cameron?
Sasha grabbed a title from her best friend's hands. What better champion does that? Grabbing it from the person she loved most. Like, there's no better champion. Roman is a wuss. Roman is, I mean, he could, it looked too even. It looked like he was about to lose it to this little tag team partner in Jey Uso.
Sweetie, no offense, this just convinces me that you're never going to win a title because you couldn't tell that Roman was crying for the sake of getting Jimmy to think that he was upset. Because the moment he stopped crying, he was like, oh, I've won. So no offense, that just makes me realize that you might be fooled in the future. That's fine.
All right.
It's okay, you just have to open your eyes next time.
I just want to say you invited me on this podcast.
Well, I invited you on. I thought you'd be a champion.
So to run it back, we've got our promo of the night. Hurt Business accepts the challenge. Fighter of the night, Roman Reigns, and fight of the night, Bayley versus Sasha Banks. Not my match against Courtney for the UPF World Championship title, because of course not. It's not like that just happened yesterday and just went on YouTube today, and you can check that out at the Universal Pokemon Federation YouTube channel. But who am I to care?
You Gucci? I don't know. You Gucci or?
You want to close this out?
I'll try. Alright. The cat's pretty much KO'd. You can kind of see her. Still just sitting there.
Yeah, I see her. To your face.
Yeah. She's vibing. She's a little football. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Splucha, also for joining us. We love your presence on the podcast. Even if Mark Cameron's a little testy tonight.
Testy.
But yeah, a little testy. Just anyways, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Especially because this is a really long podcast. Please, maybe if you want to, if you're not sick of us yet, please join us tomorrow night for a considerably more sober Monday Night Raw podcast. Where we find out what the fuck is gonna happen now that Randy has the title and Drew doesn't. Yeah. So please join us tomorrow. And also, if you're watching in the future, as we draw closer to the election, I hope it's a better future. Fingers crossed, brother. Hell yeah. Rockin'.
Yep. As much as I hate to add on to this podcast and promote it for what awfulness it is, because the host won't stop berating me, thank you all for watching. And I guess hit that follow button below because I'm obligated to say that. Hit the little notification bell so you can be notified whenever we go live. Follow the podcast on Twitter at the Pinfall or at Pinfall Podcast. Sorry, I don't follow you guys on Twitter. So you're notified whenever they go live, as well as see the results of Fighter and Fight of the Night in case you miss an episode and still want to see who wins. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you can see whenever a new video gets uploaded. And if you're watching on Twitch, check us out on YouTube. the Pinfall podcast on YouTube. You can check out the rest of this podcast as well as previous ones and see what we picked in the past, see what happened in the past. You won't get better coverage than us, than Elizabeth and Mark. And follow our personal Twitters. Liz is at Eliza Elaine23. I am at the Mark Cameron. And you know what? Follow my Twitch. Twitch.tv/Mark Cameron. I may not be a champion right now, but tomorrow I might be. Monday I might be. Tuesday I might be. Wednesday I might be. Thursday I might be. Any day I might be a champion.
He doesn't stream on Tuesdays or Thursdays.
How dare you? I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, maybe Saturday or Sunday, depending on if there is a title match those days. But you won't want to miss Monday next time I go live because something big might happen. You never know. I look forward to you guys coming on Monday. Definitely check that out. Twitch.tv/Mark Cameron. Hello, cat. You look so cute.
Yeah.
All right. Tune in.
Get a cat.
Tune in tomorrow, Monday night, for Monday Night Raw, and we'll see you then. Have a great night, everybody, and we look forward to you for Monday.
Tomorrow, less than 24 hours from now. My God.